We've got Arsenal against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Third round of the FA Cup, which is usually a pretty strange one. You never really know what's going to happen. But what are your score predictions for today, fellas?
I'm going to go... I don't know, I feel quietly confident. I didn't think the starting lineup would be as strong. I think he's gone very strong as Klopp. So I'm going to go a cheeky 2-1 Liverpool.
Wow. 2-1 to Liverpool. Ellis, what are you thinking?
I think off the back of what Simon described as the performance of the season the other day against Newcastle, I'm going to go. I've not been that impressed with Arsenal lately. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay. Do you know what? For some reason, I think this is going to be Arsenal's time to shine. I'm feeling a Kai Havertz masterclass and a 2-1 to Arsenal with a couple of Havertz goals. Okay. I feel like I might live to regret that one, but Arsenal need a good performance, and I think it's going to come today in the cup. Obviously, we've got the semi-final of the League Cup as well. Liverpool, who are Liverpool playing in that?
Fulham at home in the first leg. That's why I thought he would have rested players for today and just save them for Wednesday. So I'm just praying there's no injuries or anything like that as well. But
yeah, it's definitely not what you need. Yeah. Would you prefer to win the League Cup or keep going in the FA Cup and have the potential to win that though? Because I feel like in my head the FA Cup's a bigger competition for some reason.
Yeah, I suppose it's got more prestige, hasn't it? But I think with the League Cup, if you can win that early and you've got a trophy, and then
who's the other semi-final fixture?
Chelsea
Middlesbrough.
Chelsea Middlesbrough, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
See, there's you'd have Liverpool pegged as favourites to win that one. Yeah,
we should. I mean, we should make the final definitely. But if I had the choice, I'd like to obviously win the League Cup whenever that is in February, isn't it? And then just free up the rest of the thing for the FA Cup, because I wouldn't mind if we went out. I know that sounds a bit strange, but I think it's a kind of like a free hit for us today. I think if we win, which will be great. If we lose,
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. So
yeah, I mean Liverpool are firing on all fronts at the minute, aren't they? So I could obviously see them doing well, but I'm going for that Arsenal win still. But lads, just as this kicks off, I wanted to talk about we're at the halfway point in the season now. So the Premier League's at around the halfway stage, and I wanted to give some reviews and some predictions for the rest of the season. So I wanted to start off with the top six, and we'll start at first. Who do you boys think is going to win the Premier League this year?
Well, I think we were just discussing it. I still think it's going to be Man City, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
They've just got De Bruyne's just come back and played a few minutes today. Haaland's on the horizon, and this second stage of the season, they always just start going on mad win sprees. I do think inevitably they'll win it. I think Liverpool will be the team that will take them down to the wire, but I do think City will probably win it.
What do you think, Simon, as a Liverpool fan?
Yeah, I mean, I still think we have a very good chance, but I just think, like you say, because De Bruyne is just coming back now, and then Haaland will probably come back in the next couple of weeks. If those two have been playing already all the season, I'd probably think, maybe we can sneak it, but they've got them to come back, and then they always go on massive 15-game winning streaks, don't they? So.
Yeah. Well, I had Manchester City first in my predictions as well, but I do think there's the possibility. Obviously, those players are coming back from injury, but De Bruyne's quite injury prone. I could see him maybe be missing again for a couple of games of the season. Haaland has played like a machine up front whenever he's been there, but you never know. It might take him a little bit to bed in. I do think it's going to be a really interesting second half to the season, and I think what might actually be the biggest downfall for Liverpool is the next month or two when Salah's gone.
Yeah.
Of course.
I know last time AFCON led to Salah leaving the team for a little bit. Liverpool still did really well in that period, but I think this season you've really relied on him for a lot of the.
He'll be a big miss, definitely. I think if Egypt come out in the group stage or like in the last 16 or whatever it is, I think he's only going to miss two. Two league games, I think. But if he goes beyond that, then I think he'll miss the Chelsea and Arsenal game.
Preying on Egypt's downfall.
And same with Endo as well, playing with Japan. He's been brilliant for the last month for us. So I think again, he could end up missing all the big games as well, which is a bit unfortunate. But
I feel like Endo's been a signing that's maybe gone under the radar a little bit. I think Liverpool fans are aware of how well he's done. Yeah. But to say he cost practically nothing. Is he a loan
16 million or something like that?
Yeah,
so
he's had a real big impact in the team.
He has. He's definitely come.
Hang on.
Arsenal through 1-on-1.
Side netting.
It's the side netting.
Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson probably should have done a little bit better there, or once he got that tight angle, tried to square it across, but...
Great chance.
Yeah, these things happen. Anyway, as we were saying, so all of us are predicting Manchester City to win the league this year.
Yeah.
What do we think of second then? Who's going to finish second?
Liverpool, I think,
Liverpool?
Yeah.
I've got Liverpool second, yeah. And I do think that Man City have still got a tendency to drop points in stages, and Liverpool obviously do, but I do think if there's one team that's going to take it relatively close, it will be Liverpool, I mean, as we've seen in the past, you know what I mean? I think Arsenal aren't quite there yet. They're still definitely going to finish top 4, but I just think it'll be Liverpool second.
I think the thing with Liverpool, with us, we haven't had our wobble yet. Like City had theirs quite early on, didn't they, when... Was it Rodri when he was suspended and they lost like 3 games, and then Arsenal kind of going through theirs, and we've not had ours yet. So January time is when we do tend to have our wobble under Klopp. So you never know, it could be around the corner.
With Salah going, yes.
Yeah, I agree. I also had Liverpool second. I feel like I wonder if we're all going to have exactly the same top 6 going into it. It wouldn't surprise me. But I just think with Liverpool at the minute, they've been levels above other teams at certain points, whereas I think we're yet to see. Obviously, City have had some impressive performances throughout the season, but it seems like Liverpool are the team that are really like battering people.
I feel like you have scraped a few though, haven't you?
Well, it's like the Newcastle result the other day. That was our best performance of the season. That's where we absolutely battered Newcastle for 90 minutes basically. And we've not really done that. Maybe we did it against Villa in September, I think, when we beat them 3-0. But that was our first real statement win, I think, this season.
I'd say so, because you have gone through a few, like some 2-1s here and there.
Oh, yeah.
But like you say, with Salah, he's got joint most goals on 14, I think, with Haaland, and he's got the most assists as well. So it's going to be an interesting January. Well, as I say, some Liverpool fans might be keeping an eye on the AFCON, hoping
definitely.
Egypt don't do too well. But
and I mean, obviously, it's the January transfer window at the minute as well, which could have a huge impact if one of these teams decides to sign a massive player. But I don't think that's honestly going to happen. I think it'll be minimal spend from the big teams.
It's not really Liverpool style anyway, that.
No, I don't think we'll spend anything this
window. Lads, Man City first, Liverpool second. Who have you got third, Ellis?
I've got Arsenal.
Arsenal third?
Yeah, Arsenal.
This is just going to be exactly the same, and we're all going to have exactly the same predictions.
I don't know, as it gets a little bit further down, I think it might get different, but I feel like the top 3 are pretty...
They're the 3 best teams in the league by a long way.
Common answer, really, wouldn't it? Like, Arsenal... Still great, still a great team. They've gone through a little wobble at the moment, but they've still got the class of player. And once they start in a bit of form again, then they're just going to be picking up points week in, week out. So I don't see anyone else being higher than them.
As to say, do you not think that have you got Arsenal third as well?
Yeah.
Do you not think that Arsenal's wobble at the minute could be a sign of things to come? Because it only takes that lasting a couple more games.
Well, I just think because it's a wobble, the wobbles only last for a little bit, don't they, so to speak? So I think they will come good. I think they will.
I think it's Arsenal's lack of a striker for me that worries me seriously, because obviously Jesus has been announced as injured again today. I know it's not meant to be a serious injury, but he's so injury prone. And to be honest, even when he's playing, I don't rate him as an out-and-out striker.
They had last season as well, they had Saka and Martinelli really carrying in terms of like they were getting a lot more goals, but I don't think Saka and Martinelli are firing quite the same at the moment.
Although Arsenal are in the box again here. They've had a good start to this game.
Yeah, that kit looks really clean as well, man.
It does. But yeah, I completely agree with the Saka and Martinelli statement, because I think they were fantastic last year, and the issue is for me at the minute in that Arsenal squad, there's no one really to challenge them for their places in the team, like, at all. Yeah. And like, obviously Nicolas Pepe was pretty poor when he was at Arsenal as a whole, but he was still someone to challenge him for the spots. And I think at the minute, you've got Reece Nelson, who's not...
Well, you got Trossard as well, but he just seems to be a player that starts on the bench and gets brought on.
It seems like he's quite happy to be a bench player. And I think if I was Arsenal, I know that this would be a big ask. I think that there's a bunch of players that Arsenal should look at in January, to be honest. And obviously a striker's the main concern, but maybe going into the summer transfer window, if I were them, I'd really try target Elise.
Yeah.
No, he's a good player.
I think it'd bring
him. Is that the one from Palace, Crystal Palace? Yeah, I think Liverpool have been linked with him.
And it'd bring really good competition to the squad, which is what Arsenal are missing at the minute. You've got the players who were star players last year dropping down a level or two, and it's making a huge impact. Whereas if you had some more players like Elise in the team that could really challenge them, I think it'd lead to a massive...
And they've done it with keepers. Like, you brought in David Raya to a bit of competition for Ramsdale, both of them like swapping places, but you need that realistically outfield, not where you're fucking goalkeeper. Yeah, like the stuff competition.
The goalkeeper stuff is quite funny.
I think out of the 3, out of Arsenal, City, Liverpool, I think Arsenal got the weaker squad.
Yeah,
I think they do.
Yeah. I always see Arsenal as having a lack of. Especially this season, you would say last season Saka was a star player, but this year it doesn't seem to be quite to the same level for me. And I think Rice is the only one that's like an out-and-out star player, or signing especially. Arsenal have been really on the front foot so far this game. They've been pushing Liverpool.
Yeah, they've come out the mean business so far.
They've come out swinging. Just depends if Liverpool could weather the storm for a while. Right then, boys. We've had the same top three.
Ooh.
Simon, who have you got fourth?
Oh, I've gone for Aston Villa for fourth.
I have as well. Actually, I have.
Yeah.
I have as well.
There you go.
Boys, you see, next time someone says zero ball knowledge, we've all gone for the same top four. So either all of us have zero ball knowledge, which is quite possible, especially if you ask the masses.
Yeah.
But why Aston Villa fourth, Ellis?
Well, it's just they've made the home a fortress. I mean, and obviously they've had, like, they're still picking up points away from home, but at home they've just been that good. And you play half your games at home. I think it could be a similar situation where there's other teams like, say, your Manchester Uniteds and your Chelseas that have dropped off, so that frees up a spot higher up the table, like it did last year with Newcastle finishing fourth. So I really think Aston Villa could be that team this year. Just keep on going. I don't know if they're going to do any business in January, but so far so good from them. We've got Ollie Watkins has been fantastic for him. He could keep providing the goods. Just really firing under Emery, to be fair. So I hope they do it, really.
Oh, yeah, I think they're miles better at the moment than United and Newcastle. You could probably say the other two teams for that fourth, but I just think they've been brilliant this season, haven't they? Emery's just gotten them playing so well, and like you say, at Villa Park's a massive fortress there, isn't it? So, but you never know. Will it? As you know, when Europe comes back in, that
could slip off, couldn't it?
Midweek games and things like that, would they kind of drop off a bit? You just never know, but.
Yeah, it's a possibility, and I think you've seen a lot of these teams struggle with the European competitions been around at the same time as try to do well in the Premier League. But I do agree. I've got Aston Villa there in fourth, and I think I'm actually really enjoying watching how well Villa are doing this year. I think out of all the teams that are battling for those top four spots, I hope they manage to keep it. It's kind of similar to Newcastle last year for me, other than the fact it's less Saudi money, which makes it a little bit better in my head. I mean, I'm sure that Aston Villa's money isn't clean either, but I quite like the fact that they're in that fourth spot. And I'd like to see him in the Champions League again, because they have won 2 European Cups, haven't they?
One
was it one?
Well, it's Forest that won 2.
Yeah. All right, but they've got that European history.
Massive club, Aston Villa, huge club in England.
Yeah, they've got a great fan base, so I'm
great
excited.
Stadium as well.
Yeah, I've been once many years ago. But lads, I think this might be where we start to differ a little bit. Who have we got fifth? Simon, you kick it off.
I went for Newcastle fifth.
Newcastle in fifth. Ellis?
I've gone Spurs.
Spurs. So I'm with Ellis on this one. I had Spurs in fifth, but I do think Newcastle is a shout. How do you think they're going to start to pull it back? I know we've got a debate on this
They don't have
later.
the Champions League anymore.
Well, that's it. Yeah, they don't have European, distraction anymore, and they eventually will get all their players back as well from injury and stuff. So I had them at the start of the season top 4 anyway, and are still kind of clinging on to that. But I don't know. I think they will come good again at the second half of the season, and I think they'll probably just.
Oh God! It's a mistake.
Arsenal in the box.
Oh,
Odegaard. Hits the crossbar from inside the box. Shoot. Oh my God. Arsenal have about 3 shots on target in 30 seconds, but don't manage to get the ball in the net.
It's fine.
It's a stressful time here.
Wow.
Liverpool have been really under the cosh so far this game. And Ellis, you've got Spurs in fifth.
Yeah, I do. I mean, they obviously had that amazing start and they were heavily under the limelight. Everybody saying big Ange at the wheel, this, that and the other. Then they had a little bit of a slip. But I do feel like the football that he's got them playing, they've got a decent team. I've got them pegged as fifth because I think, like you said, they're better than your Chelseas and your Manchester Uniteds this year. Newcastle, I still just don't know how they're going to fare with injuries and stuff like that. Like Simon said, though, they can come back and then start picking up in the second half of the season. But just looking at it how it is now, I've got Spurs there.
Yeah, I had Spurs in fifth as well. I think, as you said, there was a lot of expectation on them at the start of the season, and I feel like they've been on a little bit of a roller coaster so far with Ange, and maybe now's the time they can actually just start to chill out and be at the level that they're genuinely at, which for me is like in the top 6, but not challenging for the league. Because I remember at the start of this year, I predicted them to not even be in the top 8 because I thought they'd do without Kane. I thought they'd be horribly bad.
I did the same. I remember the episode.
Yeah, saying that they won't even get in the top 8. But now I think the squad's good enough. They play nice enough football. I can see them finishing 5th. And then, who have we got in the last European spot at 6th?
I've gone for Spurs.
So you've got Spurs there?
Well, to be fair, I put Manchester United.
Manchester United.
Weirdly enough. I just did. Just weird. I don't like them.
I mean, the thing is with United, even though when they are terrible, they still find a way to win, don't they? It's amazed me how they've got as many points as they have at the moment.
It's crazy. But, you look at them games like against Brentford when you've got people like flipping Scott McTominay popping up out of the blue and scoring a brace and rescuing points for him. It's just a little bit wild, and I just see them. They're going to continue to do weird stuff like that. There's very unorthodox Manchester United at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I had a stat on Manchester United that I wanted to read at some point during the episode, so now's a good time, which makes me think that they won't get in the top 6. So Manchester United have scored 22 goals in 19 Premier League games. Only Burnley, Sheffield United... that's it. Only Burnley and Sheffield United have scored less than them.
It's embarrassing.
In the 19 Premier League games this season. So for me, I just think Manchester United, unless they bring in a good attacker in January, I really don't see them getting into that top 6 in the Premier League. I just can't envision it, because I don't think the football that Ten Hag plays is good enough to get that team to a better level without better players. And to be honest, even if they do make signings, if it's signings that are up to Ten Hag based on his previous signings, I don't see that having too much of an impact either.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when you look at it, I don't think they were much better or much worse last season, but the difference last season was on the back of the World Cup, Marcus Rashford came back and was scoring goals. They don't really have that right now. So that's, as you just clearly made with that fucking start. So it does make sense, but just, as I said, they're a little bit weird and hard to predict. They're unorthodox. They're just going to pick up points.
Well, I mean, Rashford was incredible last season and has been awful this year. I saw a stat saying Bruno Fernandes admittedly has scored, I think he scored a couple of goals this season in the Premier League, but he has also given the ball away more than any other player in the Premier League this season. So as much as his stats on paper might look okay, it doesn't mean that he's particularly effective with the ball. And I think Ten Hag is really reliant on those two players in particular performing. Otherwise, there's no one else in the team to drag him out of a mess.
I just think if they start getting, I know he only just scored his first Premier League goal, but I do think that Højlund's a good striker. Like
he's going to be a good striker.
He's a good player, but whenever I've watched Manchester United recently, he's just not getting in any supply.
No service at all.
Like if he's in it, like I say, if he was in that Man City team playing up front in Haaland's role, he'd be scoring goals.
Yeah.
But Man United's, they're not creating, and that goes back to players like Fernandes, what they're really doing at this moment in time. But what if he starts getting the ball and scoring goals, they'll start picking up points, and I could see them getting into that top 6 spot. But
I think the problem with Manchester United for me, whenever I've thought about it, is the wingers, isn't it? Like, it's just, I just look at Anthony and I think, what has gone wrong there? Yeah. Every single time, he's fucking awful, isn't he? He's proper dog. But anyway, before I get too carried away on Manchester United, I've got my sixth, right? I actually have Brighton.
Swear to God.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I just feel like they've started to do a little bit better recently, and for some reason, I can just see them sneaking in over your Manchester United or a potential resurgence of another team.
I think it depends how far they go in Europe. If they get far, I think they'll put all their eggs in that basket. So I think they might drop off.
I mean, the Woods definitely. They're a fantastic footballing team, and I don't even know his name properly, but he's got them playing football really well. I looked earlier on the Premier League app, just when I was looking through stats for the season for today, and they've got the most passes in the league completed. Obviously, it's normally always City just flying at the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one, and it kind of shows you the kind of football that he's trying to instill into him. It's a good shout. Like I don't hate it.
That's what I mean. I just think Brighton are as dependent on a couple of players as the other teams that are fighting for those positions are. So I can see them still somehow sneaking it, even if they do have a couple of injuries because of the extra games or whatever.
Well, Milner's still going strong as well, isn't he? James Milner.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love James Milner.
Incredible professional.
I mean, obviously we love him because he's from Leeds and played for Leeds as well, but he's just been a mainstay name in the Premier League for so many years.
Good 20 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's consistently done well. It's not like he's been crap at any point in his career.
Well, he's played in 3 separate decades now in the Premier League. And
surely he must be up there for all-time appearances.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's
Gareth Barry's got the number one.
I think he's like closing in, or I'm sure he's definitely in the top 3. I think it's him and Gareth Barry and Giggs or something like that, maybe, or a goalkeeper or something. But yeah, he's definitely up there, and he's our greatest free transfer signing ever.
Oh, definitely.
Probably, I don't know, in the league, maybe. I don't know. I can't think of anyone else.
I mean, from Man City as well. So he's won the league with 2 different teams.
He won a couple with City, and then he won it with us as well. Yeah.
Wow. What a man. What a man James Milner is.
Yeah.
But a question I wanted to ask on this top 6 debate is, do we think that Chelsea have any potential to sneak into it in the last half of the season? Because with the amount of money they've spent, and I mean, Pochettino is seen by many as a good manager, Do you think that they have a chance?
I think they're capable of going on a run. I just feel that the teams that we've already mentioned are just better equipped and more settled, and I just think they're a better outfits, quite frankly. I think Chelsea, like I say, they're capable of going on like a big unbeaten run, but I think probably top 6 is a big ask.
Yeah, Ellis, what do you think?
It's a big ask after how they've started the season. I think they're the 10th at the moment, aren't they? And I agree, they're capable of going on a run. They've definitely got bags of talent, but they've got bags of talented individuals. Do you know what I mean? Like, have we really seen enough of them as a team?
No.
Inconsistency. I mean, we seen them at the start of the season against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, and I thought, well, they could be back here. They looked really good. Looked well equipped to go on and pick up points, but they're just too inconsistent, and I think they'll continue to be. It's just, I don't know what the problem is with them at the moment, but it's just too much getting thrown into that squad.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Chelsea's a really weird one because when you look at the amount they've spent in just cash, you think, wow, they should be doing really well. But the team just isn't cohesive at all. It doesn't work together. And to be honest, having watched Chelsea in the Premier League this season and knowing how he did at PSG, my opinion on Pochettino has changed massively in the last couple of years, because that run that he had with Spurs, getting him to the Champions League final and doing quite well in the league, I think that was propelled by a very specific moment in that Spurs squad where there was a lot of good players performing, like practically at the peak. You had Son and Kane firing on all cylinders. The defence was pretty good. Then Lloris was one of the best keepers in the world at that point. And you've seen, obviously, Kane and
Dele
Son.
Alli then as well.
Yeah, Dele Alli was doing really well. You had Lucas Moura, who was doing quite well there. But now you see, like, Lloris is leaving, Kane's left. I mean, Son's still incredible when he plays, but even, like, last season, he wasn't very good throughout the year. This season, he's been great again. But I just think that maybe Pochettino isn't the manager that we thought he was.
Yeah, I think Pochettino's one of the managers where he's better as an underdog, I think, like, say, with the Spurs. Or if I could see him managing, like, an Aston Villa kind of thing, doing a similar job to Emre. I don't know, He's a good manager, but is he an elite manager? I don't know. I don't know if he's an elite manager. So.
Yeah, I won't put him in the top 5 in the Prem right now. Definitely not.
I mean, well, it's hard to with a squad like that sat in 10th.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, though. That's what I mean. And he didn't win the league with PSG one of the seasons.
Yeah, that's
absolutely mental. Poor. How can you not win the league? Yeah, it was the first time they'd not won it in like 5 seasons. Yeah. So what has he actually done other than got Spurs to a final, which they lost?
Has he won any trophies yet? Has he won anything yet?
I think he won the French Cup with PSG, yeah. But again, it's like winning the Bundesliga, isn't it, with Bayern Munich, which it looks like they might not do this year, though. Yeah, so top 6 is covered, boys. Is there any other teams you think could maybe sneak in there, be in with a shout? Obviously, we said Chelsea, Manchester United. I don't have Newcastle in there, but we'll talk about them a little bit later.
I mean, no. I mean, you covered Brighton. I mean, if you've not said Brighton,
Brighton, I suppose the best of the rest, aren't they? I suppose, but
probably giving them a mention.
Well, rest in peace. Should we move on to the bottom end of the table with the relegation battle? Who do we think is going to finish bottom of the Premier League this season?
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United.
They're always such an unwelcome addition to the Premier League. Honestly, they're just disgraceful. It's a pathetic attempt every single time. Honestly,
I'll be honest now.
It's just honest. I mean, if I was a Sheffield United fan, I'd probably fucking prefer to be in the Championship. They probably don't mind going down because they'll win a few games. I mean, look at us this season. We're winning some games. Last year it was tough, but we, at least when we were up in the Premier League, we give it a bit of a go. Yeah, it seems to be the same old story for him at the moment.
Sheffield United and the new Norwich, they just come up, do shit, go down.
Sometimes they're too good for the Championship, but they're way too shit for the Prem as well. There needs to be like a little league in between for the likes of fucking Norwich and Sheffield United.
Just those fucking tin pot shite teams.
Those ones that love the parachute payments, man.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough to him for getting up, but like when you're seeing the team in the Premier League with Paul Heckingbottom, you knew that it wasn't going to go well, didn't you, from the start?
If you're getting beat 5-0 by another relegation rival in Burnley, then you just should not be in that league. Yeah. That is honestly atrocious.
So have you got Sheffield bottom as well? Yeah, yeah, obviously. I did. And then who have you got second from bottom, Ellis?
I got Burnley. I really had Burnley pegged to do okay this season. We got young manager company, different style of play to what they had with Sean Dyche. They did really well in the Championship. But you can just see the difference in levels with the Premier League at the moment, with the teams that are fucking cruising in the Championship coming up and really struggling. And it's a shame really, but that's just how it is. I was a little bit disappointed with them. I mean, I did expect a little bit more, but I just think it's a bit of a cop out to say them, but they just are going down, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think as companies just trying to play like an expansive type of football, isn't he? Trying to play out from the back or something like that. And I just think, unless you actually do have the players to do that, and coming up to a new league, you're just going to get absolutely torn to shreds, aren't you? But
yeah, it is a bit of a weird one though, because I agree with Ellis in a sense of having watched them a little bit in the Championship last year and how much they dominated that league, playing that style of football. I thought, surely when they come up, they'll do quite well, because that does happen. Like it happened with Leeds under Bielsa, and then that started to fall apart.
Bournemouth as well, didn't it?
Bournemouth. That started to fall apart after a little while, but it took a season and a half before we were really shit. Yeah. So I thought company should do quite well with Burnley, but they have been really atrocious throughout the season. And I think you're right. It's just that lack of, in the Championship, those players are good enough to play that style of football, because obviously the opposition's way worse. But in the Premier League, I don't think it's going to click for them at any point. No. I don't think it's going to start to work. So I also had them second from bottom.
You've got to kind of adapt, really. I think you can't just have plan A. You can play that expansive football in the Championship or play it against teams that are closer to your level in the league. But then when you come up against the bigger teams, you might just have to be able to. You have to try dig in, try get something. Like that's why I think what Luton have done quite well at home. I think, to be fair, they've had a few decent results at home against some of the big dogs. So that's a good example of it. So
yeah, Luton have surprised me so far this year. Speaking of which, who have you got in the last relegation spot, Ellis?
I have gone for either Luton or Everton. I'd love Everton to go down, but they're just not gonna. And I think Luton have shown a lot more than the other teams that have been promoted with some of the performances at home.
But did you just say you said either Luton or Everton?
Yeah.
You think Everton are still in with a chance at all of getting relegated?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I don't even have them anywhere near it.
They'll stay up.
They will stay up, but I do think it's going to be close again. It's not going to be like last season. Do you know when there was like 8 teams towards the end that could potentially go down? I think it's just going to be that bottom 3 that have just come up, and maybe Everton quite close to it as well.
You see, I don't have Everton in a relegation scrap anymore. If it wasn't for the points deduction,
well, they'd be nowhere near it, but they did get deducted points. And
but that's what I mean.
They are actually in one, aren't they? And they are still a poor side. But I just think they've always got enough, especially at Goodison Park as well. I think they'll creep up the table. I think they'll still finish the bottom half.
I threw that one in there because it feels
it'd be hilarious if that happened.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. New stadium.
Oh yeah, that'd be so funny. It
looked good in Championship. But I only threw that in there because it does feel like a cop out. You know, saying who's going down, you're going for the 3 that come up. But it's just the way that the season's gone. Can't really see it going any other way. And because of Everton's point deduction, they are still technically within a point. Yeah, they're on 16. Luton are on 15.
I just think because of their form in the league, I don't see them actually going down. No. I think they'll just get out of it now, as if. And now imagine
they know what to do, don't they? Now
they've been in this position for like the past 4 seasons, but it's a nice thought.
Yeah, I kind of. Part of me wishes they would, but I just don't see it happening. Simon, who have you got finishing third from bottom?
I've got either Luton or Bournemouth. I think one of those two, but I think probably Bournemouth. I think Luton, they'll have enough at home. I think. I mean, again, we're talking about poor teams, at the bottom of the league at the moment, but I just think Luton at home, they can give you a game. Like they gave us a game. There was 1-1. We were quite lucky to score in the last minute. But
do you think Bournemouth, they've pulled out some decent results throughout the year?
Well, again, yeah. But I don't know. Just something about Luton, I think, a bit more solid at home.
Yeah, I like the idea of Luton staying in the Premier League, and I think they're a great addition. And I actually don't even have them as one of my options for the last team to be relegated.
Oh, really?
I'm going between Forest.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because obviously they've got rid of Steve Cooper now, but they've had a really poor season overall. And I just think that Forest have had an approach in the transfer window so far. Sorry, Arsenal in the box here. Pretty poor shot. But Forest have had what seems to me a scattergun approach in terms of transfers, where they've just signed loads of like 15 to 30 million pound players, but none of them have had an unbelievable impact on the team. It's like we'll just spend it. Get these mid-level players, as many as we can, and hope that some of them
numbers
stick.
In, aren't they?
Is Origi still there? Has he even played for him?
I don't know.
Origi, no.
He signed for him, didn't he?
Oh, did it? What, in the summer? Is he not still at Milan?
I think he did at one point.
Yeah, he did. I'm sure.
Well, he's always injured, isn't he?
Yeah.
So,
But I know like Alanga's done all right for him. That was a decent signing. But I just don't think that they have much in the squad. And then my other option for a team to get relegated, and I think this will shock most people.
I think I know what you're going to say, and I don't think it's that shocking.
Is Brentford.
They've been really poor.
Brentford have been awful this year, and I kind of see them obviously they've been in the Premier League for longer or have done better for longer than Leeds. But you know how we came up and had those that impressive first season, and everyone was like, yeah, really good team. They're going to keep up in that top half of the table. and then we just dropped.
Yeah.
I think that's Brentford this year.
They've been without Tony though, haven't they?
Well, yeah, and Tony's going to come back, and he actually did score. Tony came back in the under-23s game yesterday against Southampton and got a hat-trick, so he could make all the difference. Who's to say he's going to be there at the end of January, though? I know they've said that he's probably going to stay, but I just think Brentford, maybe there's a bit too much confidence within the squad. Maybe there's a bit too much confidence within the fan base that they're a Premier League team now.
I think it's just set in stone.
What is this, their third year? Is this their third year?
Yeah, third or fourth.
Third.
Yeah.
So they're quite established, I suppose, in a little way, aren't they? But I think if Tony comes back, I think he will score goals. So I think he'll keep.
Yeah,
those goals will keep him up. But
Tony will definitely score goals. I don't know though. I could see him dropping off for some reason. Them in the Lego Stadium could go back to the Championship, and I don't think most people would be that upset about it because they played really nice football at first, but it just seems like this year they've been meh.
Yeah, no, well, that's why I didn't even think of them because I didn't, I mean, they've not done anything this
They're on
year.
19 points at the moment, which is only 4 off Luton as it stands.
Yeah, I just think Luton have a bit more grit about them.
Well, it's their first season.
Well, it's their first one, isn't it? So
they've got fire in the bellies. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't feel like they should be there. Do you know what I mean? So that makes them fight even harder.
What are we thinking of this game so far, Simon? Liverpool have been struggling a little bit.
No, Arsenal have been on top a lot more, to be honest. So we've had a couple of chances on the break, but again, it's just the final pass has not really come for us. But yeah, it's kind of what I expected, to be honest. I thought Arsenal will come out of the traps first. So
yeah, Arsenal have been really quick. I think they need a performance like this, though. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't get a goal, though. Really,
is it VAR in this one?
I'm not sure. I would assume because it's at a Premier League
stadium.
stadium.
It was one of the matches the other day where there was no VAR and it was brilliant. Yeah. I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was the Everton Palace or something.
No, because the Everton Palace one.
That was the
Calvert-Lewin got sent off.
There was another game on like BBC ITV.
It was Sunderland Newcastle one.
Yeah, was it that one? Yeah. It was one of the games and it was just brilliant.
Stadium, like, hello.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what has he done?
Kai Havertz scooping a shot towards the keeper there. I do really like this Arsenal kit though. They should sell.
I don't know. It's confusing me. It's like we playing Leeds or Real Madrid or what's going on.
It's clean, isn't it? Though it's proper nice top. Pull the trigger quicker there. Oh, it's a fucking deflection. I thought he just scuffed his shot.
We had a couple more predictions to do anyway. Okay. Right, and I wanted to go with who do you think come the end of the season, given what we've seen so far, is going to end up being the Premier League Player of the Year?
At the end of the season, so not now.
Sorry.
Yeah, at the end of the season.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Oh, he's spilled the water.
Sorry.
You keep it up. Who's going to be the Premier League Player of the season?
Right. So I'm gonna go. Compose yourself. I'm gonna go for Mo Salah. I think after coming back from the AFCON, I think if he keeps it up, I don't see why not. I mean, Haaland, unless he just turns into beast mode again, which he could easily. But I'd have Salah as my player of the season so far, so I don't see why that'd change come the end.
Yeah, it's like I've got him. Well, right now, if you said player of the season now, I've gone for Van Dijk purely because of where Liverpool are and best defence in the league. And he does seem to be back to his best now. So if that continues, and like say we go on and win the league and have the best defence, then I'd still put him there. But again, like if Salah scores the goals, then chances are he probably would get it, wouldn't he?
I feel like the defenders, they do get overlooked, really, don't they?
Oh, they do,
when it
yeah.
comes to them awards at the end of the season. But like you say, he's incredible, really.
Yeah, I mean, like say the thing with Salah, again, he's top of the charts with the goals and assists, but again, his overall performances haven't been that good this season. I know it sounds
just
madness.
More stats, isn't it?
Yeah, he's one of those players where you can have a terrible game, but he'll get a goal and assist. You know what I mean? And you just can't. He's always going to get the goals and things like that, which is priceless. But his actual overall performances haven't been that great this season. So,
no. I know what you mean. You see a little bit of this chatter about Salah dropping off this season, but I think it really depends what Liverpool actually win. Yeah. I think if Liverpool were to win the league or the Champions League and another trophy, it'll be
Europa League.
Europa League. Sorry, a European Cup. If they were to win multiple trophies, I think the Premier League's the key one. Then Salah will definitely be in that conversation. But until
I still think even if we don't win anything and he's like 25, 30 goals, he'll still be up there in the conversation, definitely.
Is there anyone else you think is in the conversation for Player of the Year?
Well, I've just gone like my Player of the Year right now for the first half is Van Dijk. I just think he's been back to his best this season, and he's one of the main reasons why we're where we are at the top of the league with the best defence as well. So if that maintains, then again, I still think he could be player of the season, definitely. But
yeah, 100%. They don't. There's always a bit of a bias towards giving it to defensive players. Oh, is it? I've missed the whole. I've missed the whole.
But they do get overlooked a little bit, don't they? Because it's like Simon was saying, Salah probably not putting in his best performances, but he's got them stats there that obviously get him up there.
So that makes a huge difference. And who have you got as a potential young player of the year?
Julian Alvarez, I think.
Yeah. How old is he?
He's like 22, 23, I think.
Yeah. See, I always find the young player of the year debate a little bit tough because what do you class as a young player?
I think it's 23 and under, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't really, if I'm thinking now, if a footballer's 22, 23, do I really class, like I'd say especially 23, do I really class him in that young player of the year debate anymore?
I always think of under 21s, that's what I think. Yeah. I've gone for Palmer from Chelsea.
Yeah, I've gone for the same.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
I think he's been brilliant. I think he might even go in the summer with England. You never know. To the Euros this summer.
To be honest, at this point, I would think he's pretty nailed on. Surely.
Gordon as well. Newcastle, he's had a good season so far.
He has actually. It took him a little bit to settle in, really, didn't it? Yeah. But he's playing week in, week out. I know they're struggling at the moment, but has looked dangerous whenever he's played.
I'm just not. I don't know why. I just don't like Gordon.
Well, I mean, I think it's his face.
He's an Evertonian as well. So,
what are you trying to say about his face, fella?
He just looks like a rat, doesn't he? He's like just Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, he's one of those players. I think he's got an ego bigger than the ability that is behind him. I think he thinks he's a better player than he is.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought, is he really? Did he go for like 45 million or something like that? And I just thought. It's like, is he worth that? But then, to be honest, he has done really well at Newcastle. So
he's been good this season, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Good player. I think Palmer. I prefer Palmer. I think he's better player.
He's probably better than Rashford at the minute to get in the England squad, though.
He's playing. Yeah, he's playing better.
I mean, this season he has been. I'm looking forward to seeing that England squad and how many players who are truly awful manage to get in it. Because you know that's going to happen.
Maguire will be in there definitely.
Yeah. It's just some horror, and Ellis will be like, "Come on, bring back Harry."
Slabhead.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But I think Palmer this season has been Chelsea's best player, hasn't he? By quite a distance. A lot of their stars have either underperformed the ones that they signed, or like Sterling. He's so hit and miss that it's impossible to really judge him.
He started the season quite well, didn't he? Really, but like you say, hit and miss. Palmer's been a little bit of a diamond in the rough, hasn't he? Because it's not exactly been smooth sailing and everything going amazing at Chelsea so far, but that's been one thing that's been good. It's surprising that City let him go for 40 million to a...
Yeah.
It's credit to him as well to go, because he could have just sat on the bench there and just played random games, but he's gone to another big club that are struggling, but he's playing week. Yeah, he's playing week in, week out, isn't he?
Yeah, I actually really respect it from him. And to be honest, I actually like the fact that City were willing to sell him instead of just forcing him to sit on the bench. Yeah, because a lot of big teams would do that, and it's not really on. We've started to see someone who I suppose potentially could have been in that young player of the year shout is Foden, as started to really shine now. De Bruyne's out injured, but
he's been good recently for
he scored again today.
Played well again today. I mean,
again, I wouldn't class him as a young player at this point though. He's 23, I think.
So I mean, I just think 20 or 21 under kind of thing. That's I think young player.
But it is good, especially for England, that those two are doing so well.
Yeah, England got a lot of good young kind of attacking midfielders at the moment, so that's good.
Golden Generation Part 2. See, we'll end up starting fucking Calvin Phillips and Conor Gallagher in the Euros. That's sort of. Do you think Phillips is still going to get in the squad?
Those two defensive midfielders in there. That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Well, it's the January transfer window at the minute, lads, and there was a rather big or interesting signing confirmed last night, and that is Timo Werner has joined Tottenham on loan for the rest of the season. There is also a buy-on clause or an option to buy at the end of the season. What, buy-on?
No.
Timo Werner. Yeah, it's a questionable signing. But yeah, what do you think of Werner to Tottenham?
I think it's sensible. I like Timo Werner. I think he's a good player.
I think he's better than fucking Richarlison.
Yeah. Well, he had a terrible time at where was he? Was it at Chelsea? Yeah, just terrible time there. And we were linked with him, and Klopp really, really wanted him, and I was gutted when we didn't get him.
I'm baffled by this.
I think he's a good player. No, I think he's a good player. I do.
I mean, I think he's better than Richarlison, though. I honestly think Richarlison's stealing a living. I think he's absolutely shit.
Yeah, but I don't think being better than Richarlison means you're good.
That's
the thing. Like, I agree. He's probably slightly better than Richarlison, but Richarlison's fucking unbelievably bad. But then Werner at Chelsea was awful.
I just think if you put him in a good system, to play to his strength. He's an intelligent footballer. I think he was brilliant at Leipzig. I think
I'm interested to see how he does.
Yeah.
In all honesty, because I feel like he has got the talent, and he's a quick forward. You know what I mean? He could be the kind of guy to get a few goals for Spurs.
He's like 26, 27. He's still, so he's not. Yeah.
I just think we've seen him in the Premier League though, and we know that he's not good in the Premier League.
I know, but Chelsea were just not great at the time either. Oh my.
Ooh. I know Chelsea have a slight striker curse, but I really don't see Werner coming back and doing well. I just can't. In my head, I can't see.
I just think it's a sensible move for all parties involved. I think Spurs will get something out of him. And then
you've got to think though. I mean, he doesn't score goals. Well, that's after his spells. But in all honesty, if you look, Man United were inquiring about him, which weird as well. Liverpool inquired about him at some point, and obviously now Tottenham have gone and got him. People are obviously seeing something in him that could be used.
Yeah, he's not the worst player I've ever seen. I don't get it personally. I think if you were,
he's got to do better with that.
Havertz with another chance there for Arsenal that he puts wide of the post from a corner. I mean, I was right with Havertz, been on the ball a lot, but he's not had a masterclass so far. Still waiting on him to actually get it in the net. Yeah, he could have done better with that one for sure. But yeah, Werner, I don't know. I get it's because it's a midway point season loan, but I would place a wager that even if he scored 5-6 goals, which I think is a big ask from him, I don't even think Spurs would do that. I don't think they'd activate the why can't I get the correct fucking word for the transfer?
The buy-on clause.
Yeah, I don't think they'd activate the buy-on clause. I just think they'd leave him and let him go back to Leipzig.
Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's a good player. I just think obviously he had a rotten time at Chelsea. But there's definitely a player in there
all
still,
over it.
Yeah, it's a proper Tottenham signing, isn't it? 1,000,000%. But what else is going on in the transfer window? Sancho potentially going back to Borussia Dortmund. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
I just think that so many careers have gone and died at Manchester United, and he's still so young. I don't even think he's 23 yet. He might be 23, 22, 23. And he's obviously got talent, but just Manchester United, sometimes for some players, they just go and just have a torrid time. And it's because Manchester United just aren't the club that they used to be. They always go through tough spells. So it's a shame.
I just love it when there's a bad comment about Manchester United. I absolutely they're not the club that they used to be.
They're just not.
I mean, I completely agree, but it is funny.
They're just not. And Sancho's got bags of talent. I mean, he's still young. He obviously found it okay in the German Bundesliga. He did quite
brilliant,
well,
wasn't he?
So I hope he can go back and find some form over there, because that could be another great asset for the England team.
Yeah, he needs to get out of United as quickly as possible, doesn't he? So this again just makes sense, doesn't it? So I think Man United will kind of be secretly pleased he's out as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's on so much
not
money.
Hanging around, is he?
For some reason, though, I have a feeling this is one of those that might not end up happening because he's on so much money. Yeah. And I know Manchester United, I've seen some reports today that it's still the details haven't been agreed yet. And it's been in negotiations for a little while now. So
yeah, it's been...
So what's he on? He's on something like 200 a week.
I think he's on 300 a week.
It's nuts,
but this is what I mean. So having Dortmund... The way that German football clubs are ran in terms of there's so much fan involvement and ownership within the clubs, I don't think, given Sancho's performances over the last 2 seasons, they would even justify paying 50% of their wages, because that would instantly make him one of their highest paid players, and they wouldn't want to risk that for someone that's barely played football. Yeah. He's not played a game this season, has he? Has he played a single competitive game this year?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Because I know that he's been exiled from the squad. He's not even training with the first team at Manchester United.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could you justify paying a player like that 150 grand a week for the fairy tale that they might do as well as they did previously?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he goes. I agree. I hope it happens. But I just think it might be one that somehow gets unstuck.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense.
And then also today... Juventus have apparently dropped out of the race for Calvin Phillips. I don't know if I'd call it a race for Calvin Phillips, because
I think that's down to wages and stuff like that.
Was that due to wages? Was it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, I was saying on the last show we did that I think there's going to become a bigger and bigger gap between how much English clubs and even the biggest clubs from other countries are able to spend on players. And these two that we've just talked about are key examples. Yeah. These are players that are not good enough to be starting in a top 6 team in the Premier League at the minute, or certainly haven't been for the last year, that are on wages that high. No international clubs are willing to take the risk and sign them.
I know, it's crazy.
And how much more are we going to see that, though? Because there's so much more money in the Premier League than there is in those other leagues. Like, where does that end?
Well, it just doesn't.
It's tough. It's tough, isn't it? Yeah. It's tough. But like, I don't want it to get to a point in a few years where it's just English clubs that are battering everyone, because there's so much.
It just shows how far ahead the Premier League is in terms of the financial aspect and all that kind of stuff. And it is the best league in the world as well. Like, in terms of equality, I think it's the best as well. Before, it was more to do with excitement and 100 miles an hour, but I think it is quality-wise the best league in the world as well.
Oh, so, 1,000,000%. Yeah.
Oh, Darwin. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. Almost went out for the
corner. Yeah. Safety first.
Do you think Darwin Núñez is one of the strangest players ever? Because I really do.
It's hard, because he's crazy. So that Liverpool fans, we do love him, but he can miss some sitters. He's one of those players that could score a hat-trick but then get sent off and punch the referee all in the same game and stuff. But I don't know, he won't get you 20, 25 goals a season. But he's contributing. Him and Salah link up really well.
He's really talented.
Yeah, and I think the majority of Salah's goals will come from his assists.
He's killed him there.
Havertz with the ball in the box for Arsenal. Every single Havertz shot this game has looked like he's got a fucking fan on the opposite end of his foot and it's stopping him from getting a proper connection on the ball. I don't know.
Try to visualise that.
I couldn't think of it.
It looks like, when you have dreams of playing football and you can't
running slow, man.
You can't kick ball.
That's
like
Havertz.
that.
Yeah. Like you swing your leg and it's going in slow motion.
When you're trying to have a fight and it's
Yeah, it is. He's a strange one as well. But do you think there's a potential for Núñez to turn into that 20, 25 plus goal a season striker? Because it's weird. It's like he has all the ingredients other than that finishing touch. But is that something you can really develop? Because how old is he now? 24?
24. So he's 24. And he's, like I keep saying, he's been better this season than last season. And if you want a coach to try and make you a better player, then it's Jurgen Klopp, isn't it? So I don't know. I just don't think we will. Oh, hang on.
Liverpool in the box now. And hit the crossbar.
God. Wow. Trent again. Wow. Yeah, I just don't think he's going to be a 25 goal a season. But again, he does contribute to our attack. So he has, he can justify playing him. So
he definitely makes the Liverpool attack better. Yeah. It's just a question of would another striker actually end up scoring more goals, therefore having a bigger actual impact.
I just think because we signed him when Haaland signed for City as well, and there was the two
always
best teams,
that
comparisons, and obviously Haaland's just gone crazy, hasn't he? So he's always going to have him to live up to, so to speak. But yeah, I do think he's a good player, and he, like I say, he contributes to our attack, and we're doing well, so you can't really blame him or anything.
It's like you said, he's got everything, but often it's the finished article. I always look back to a chance earlier in the season when he's burst through really quick, takes it round the keeper, and he's an open net, and he ends up shooting, it hits the post.
It's an own goal, wasn't it?
He did score from it.
Yeah.
But he does thinking he does everything so well, apart from the final little piece sometimes, which is a shame. But it's one of them things that could come with age.
Yeah.
Some players, don't just have everything from a youngish age. Like some players start to mature 28, 29.
I think Lewandowski was a good example of that. It took him
a
little bit longer until he started really firing from all cylinders.
I mean, he started out as a fucking defender. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. Some people just age like wine. Some players age like cheese.
Ian Wright was a late starter as well, wasn't he? I think when he was at Palace, I think he was it mid-20s or something when he really started kicking on.
Yeah,
Ian Wright.
Age like cheese. Doesn't cheese age quite well?
Oh, it just goes nasty, doesn't it? No, I think the term's milk, though, actually. I just got it wrong.
I was so confused then. How's that? What's going on?
I realised as soon as I said it, but
aging like wine. Look at Scott McTominay. He's going to be one of the best strikers in the universe in a couple of seasons.
It's funny seeing him, to be fair, because he does pop up with goals, and I actually do think he's a good midfielder,
Oh, I quite like him.
He's just a good, honest squad player that every team needs.
And I think he can score goals because he did used to be a striker in youth teams, so he's got the capabilities of scoring goals, and I think he's relatively solid. But
Yeah, I think if he went to a different team and had a bit more of a fresh start in a couple seasons, we might look at Scott McTominay in the same way we were talking about James Milner earlier. As in, like, always, like, never particularly impressive,
I know what you
but
mean,
just
yeah.
solid.
Just,
like,
always there kind of thing.
Just okay. And I think if he was at a slightly lower level team, he'd probably end up being the captain or something along those lines. I know he's very vocal. And obviously he's an international footballer as well, which admittedly isn't that difficult because Scotland are garbage. But, you know, he could end up being the captain there, etc. So... I think when you look back at his career, he'll be one of those in 15 years. People will be like, the streets will never forget Scott McTominay
do you reckon?
and his scoring record in that one season at Man United.
Fucking hell.
I love that. Everyone's like, oh, the streets will never forget like Payet or something. It's like, no, obviously not, because he was fucking unbelievable for 3 seasons in Premier League.
Yeah. It's a rat, man.
Oh, Tarat, bro.
Ben Arthur.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ben Arthur. He's caused me heartache on FIFA for so many years, Ben
I remember
Arthur.
him.
He's actually a demon. But boys, it's half-time in this game. 0-0. I think Arsenal have definitely been the better team throughout the half. Liverpool had a really good chance towards the end there.
Both hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Simon?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just been a bit of a meh game, to be honest. I think, like I say, Arsenal have been the better side, a bit more attacking. They've kind of look like they want it more, like they've got more to prove as well. But yeah, 0-0 for us. I think we will have a good chance in the second half, that we always do. So you never know.
I think it's been a very cup game.
Yeah.
No, do you know what I mean? Though,
that's the thing about the FA Cup. It just, I don't know. It's just always seemed a bit flat.
These early rounds, especially, innit?
Yeah.
And you can't really be arsed with a replay.
No, that's the one. Just don't. I'd rather we went out than have a replay.
That'll probably be the interesting thing about the second half, because I don't think either team will be very interested in a replay, because Arsenal are still in the Champions League, Liverpool have got the Europa League as well. Do you really want an extra game?
Extra games, no way.
So I think we could be in for an interesting second
I think
half.
replays. I think is it in a couple of weeks they're replayed or something like that.
It's like towards the end of the month.
Do you think that we should get rid of replays in this early round of the FA
I
Cup?
don't know. It's
I think replays are quite good for some of the lower league teams.
Yeah, for the lower league teams, for them to get a replay at like a Liverpool or Man United.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, for them financially, it's amazing, isn't it? So I don't think you can really take that away from them. But
And that's some of the magic. Some of the magic is involved in that. Do you know what I mean? But then for the bigger teams, it can be a bit of a ball ache.
I seen a video earlier of Robbie from AFTV talking about the FA Cup, and he was saying that
I saw that as well. Yeah,
he was saying he thinks it should be a seeded competition. So, for example, you don't get games like this, and that means that the bigger teams are definitely going to be in the later rounds. But I completely disagree with that. I think that part of the magic of the FA Cup is the fact that now these two teams have played, and there's only one of them going through, it means that there's more of a chance of a smaller team playing them in a later round, which will create, for that fan base and potentially for the club, if it's whichever ground it's at, it'll create a lifetime for the rest of the fans for forever. Like if you're I'm trying to think of a crap team, if you're Bradford and you get to play Liverpool, that's unbelievable. At home or away, whatever experience you have, even if you lose, it's an unbelievable experience. And I think if you waited in the FA Cup to add the team till the later round, it's rubbish. That
I don't think you can. I think you can't really change the format of it as the way it is now. I think the one thing that they can do is don't do the semi-finals at Wembley. They should do them at neutral grounds again, because it just. It's one thing about the FA. They're just obviously still trying to pay off the new Wembley, aren't they? So they're just.
Is that still not paid off?
Probably not for another 100 years, I imagine. But I just think if you play the semi-finals at like Villa Park or Old Trafford or so, it was brilliant. It was really good, and I just think it takes away the magic of the final at Wembley as well.
Yeah, because you've already played there in the last game.
Yeah.
I agree actually, and I think imagine for those smaller teams as well, if you could have a semi-final been played at. I don't want to use Bradford as an example again. An FA Cup semi-final in Bradford.
Beef with Bradford.
Maybe like who's done well in the FA Cup in recent years? Like did Hull once get to the final? Like Wigan, something like that. Like, imagine
Wigan won it.
Wigan won it.
Yeah, an FA Cup semi-final in Hull. It'd be the biggest thing that's happened there since World War II. I don't know. We actually got a comment from the homie Neil. The homie Neil just said, "Love the vids, underrated." I just thought we'd share a bit of love. We're always sharing the hate comments, but underrated. Thanks, Neil.
Fair play.
Cheers,
Thank
bro.
you.
Not our mate Neil, just a random Neil.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Nah, just some random Don.
All right, safe, Neil. What a boy.
My guy. There was actually one prediction I forgot to ask you about, because there was so many in my list, right? And it is who do you think, now we've seen the teams that have got through the group stages, is going to end up winning the Champions League this year? So I actually had a look at the way that it's seeded and who could get through to try work out my answer. So I'll ask you two for yours first, and then I'll jump into mine.
I've gone for Bayern Munich.
Munich?
Yeah, that's why I said at the start of the season. I still think they've got the pedigree. They've got Kane now as well. I can just see them going all the way.
They're not doing quite as well in the league this year, though, as they have done previously.
I think that might kind of help them. I think they might not give up on the league or whatever, but I think they'll really go for it.
They really do want a Champions League. They win that league all the time. So if they just focused on the Champions League, I could see them winning it. I had them or Real Madrid down to win it. Right. I think it's not going to be an English team this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, Kane does make such a big difference. One of the best strikers we've probably ever seen in our entire life. I think it's one of the best strikers we will ever see. Yeah. He's unbelievable. And as you said, maybe it could help them. But the thing is, the league is so close still at the minute that I think they'll have to be concentrated on
4
that.
Points behind?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it's within a game or two.
Yeah. I mean,
you never know.
Madrid aren't top of the league either.
No, they're not. No.
What is it, Girona?
I don't know if it's still.
I think they're level on points, but I think they've got a better goal difference.
Yeah.
Girona. Oh, I'm loving this though. Leverkusen and Girona.
It's not like part of Man City's empire thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw something where if Girona finish inside the top 4 of La Liga, Man City they have to sell one of the clubs because you can't have 2 UEFA Champions League clubs at the same time. So that'd be interesting.
Modern day football.
They'll find a way around it. Like.
Man City owners are just out here just making Champions League clubs every week. But so my prediction was for the Champions League final, and this is going to be a strong one, and I'm ready to get rinsed for this.
Oh, here we go.
I think the Champions League final will be Arsenal against Real Madrid, and I think Real Madrid will win. But I think that's how it's going to go.
I don't know.
I won't mind seeing Arsenal in final, to be honest. I've got nothing against them.
Let me get at what my reasoning behind this was, right? Because
please do.
Transfer...
Need some elaboration on
that
one.
I mean, I think Real Madrid will win it, which, that's a pretty easy choice to make. But where is it? I don't know if it'll look the same on my phone as it did on my laptop. So it was like the teams that Arsenal are kind of seeded against was Porto, who they play in the first round, and then they would go on to play either Barcelona or Napoli, who I think
in the next round,
in the round after that.
Isn't it random? It's random, isn't it?
Is it not? I thought it was just like
no, it's all random. I don't know what that's.
Oh, it's fucked me up then.
Yeah. I think you only get seeded like in the round of 16.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Oh, I thought it was like a bracket.
I think there's 2 halves though, because if I remember correctly last year, I don't know what stage it was, but all the Italian teams were on one side, and you had your Real Madrid, your Man City, and Munich.
Because people say they had the easiest.
Unless it's changed, I'm sure like the round of 16, or if that's what we're at the moment, that goes on your group position, all that kind of stuff, and then you can't draw the same team from the country. But the next round, it's just all open.
I'm pretty positive though. Last year that when it was the Milan derby in the semi-final. I remember, I don't know if it was after the round of 16 when it gets split, but
because I'm sure
there definitely was one side, like 2 sides of a draw. There definitely was last year. I remember it because all the Italian teams were on one side.
Because don't they do the next round? Don't they draw that and then the potential semi-final lineups as well?
Yeah, I think that's what they do. So I think after the round of 16,
seeded. I think it's just random.
So after the round of 16, they do draw it. So then you've got the route to the final then. But I think at the moment it's.
I don't know what you were looking at.
Well, that's ruined me. That has truly ruined me. All right, well, yeah, 0 ball knowledge commenting.
Was that a legitimate website you were looking at as well?
Yeah, it was on Transfer Market. But maybe...
Unless it's changed. Has it changed?
No. It wasn't like an article saying that. I had just assumed that it would be like every other cup where like it stops being drawn at a certain point. I thought after the round of 16, it'd be like, here are the round, we've drawn this, and then the winner of that one plays that one, and then the winner of them two
you mean like the World Cup and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that kicks in at the quarterfinal, semi-final stage.
Oh, well, it's got me fucked up then.
I think that's right.
Well, Arsenal won't make it to the final.
That was all right. That was nice.
Yeah.
You think they will or won't?
No, not if that's not the case. No,
after your theory.
No, because I thought that they'd have to. It was like they'd have to get past either Barcelona or Napoli, and then someone else that I think they'd beat.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So now, if they're drawn against Madrid or Bayern Munich or something, I think they'd lose. But yeah, my prediction then is Real Madrid to win the Champions League. I think they've just got an incredible.
It's all about the know-how, isn't it? It's just like those sort of teams.
I think Ancelotti as a manager as well makes a big difference. He's levels above a lot of others in terms of that experience of winning European trophies.
Yeah.
He's better at winning them than these leagues.
Yeah, true. Anyway, boys, I wanted to talk about what could be one of the biggest transfers in football history. There's a lot of rumours flying about around this one at the minute, and that is Kylian Mbappe potentially joining Real Madrid. So before we jump into the details of the transfer, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Ellis. What do you think this would mean for Mbappe? Do you think going to Real Madrid is the best move for him?
Well, I think they're the biggest club in the world, really, aren't they? I think he's going to look at that. I mean, I think there's less risk for him to go to Real Madrid than to a Premier League team. I think, like, in terms of personal risk, I mean, he's one of the best players in the world at the moment. I don't think he'd have a problem in the Premier League. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I just think you go into Real Madrid and he's got to get bags of goals in the league, and they're always going to be challenging and up there for the Champions League. And you look at the squad that they've got. If you add that into the mix, and it's just ridiculous, really. Less personal risk to go to Real Madrid, and I think everyone as a young kid like him, you look to Real Madrid and think that that's like the highest point you can really get to. You can't really get any higher than that.
What do you think, Simon? Do you agree?
Yeah, it makes sense for him to go there, wouldn't it? And I think he probably eventually will. But I mean, they say Liverpool as well have been linked with him, but we just couldn't afford his wages at all.
Yeah, it's
not at
ridiculous,
because they'll be on 400-500 a week or something ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know at PSG is practically one of the owners of the club, isn't he? So
it's just nuts. I mean, I think he does have a soft spot for Liverpool because obviously French players, they tend to quite like Liverpool in terms of a club and stuff like that with
Massive
the history.
European powerhouse.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe if Salah went this summer, I don't know. I think we'd have to sell one of our players just to free up some of the the money for the wages.
Space, yeah.
There's a question then. This summer, if Mbappe was available, would you sell Salah if it meant you could fund the Mbappe transfer?
Probably would. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only if it was guaranteed, like he said, I will come to you.
Yeah.
But we'd have to do this, then yeah.
Wow, that's a big shout.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be the right decision.
Mbappe, he's brilliant. He's amazing.
And he's still only he's still only 24.
Superstar.
So The Athletic reported last week Madrid have given a deadline of mid-January for Mbappe to decide if he wants to join them in the summer, so not in the January transfer window.
So that's like next week, isn't it?
Yeah, so Mbappe is in his final 6 months of his current contract with PSG, which means he can now legally negotiate with other teams. So it is looking like a strong possibility that it could happen.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, maybe the Premier League has a little bit more pulling power in terms of everyone grows up watching the Premier League. But as you said, Ellis, Madrid are that big that it has a similar effect. Maybe not the rest of the league in comparison, but it still has a similar effect.
Yeah.
Do you think that if Mbappe was to join, given they've already got Vinicius Jr., they've got Bellingham as an attacking midfielder, Rodrigo as an attacking option, do you think that him joining Madrid would mean that they have the best attack in the world?
Well, I think any team with Mbappe on it has a shout for having the best attack in the world because he's one of the best attackers, if not the best attacker in the world. So I just think if he joined Liverpool, you could say that they have the best attack in the world, realistically. Like, it's just that he's that good. So there'd have to be duds around him for it not to be, you know what I mean?
But it's weird as well because they've already got Vinicius Jr., who is one of the best left wingers in the world, and Mbappe obviously can play as a striker, but does play off the left a lot. So is it really a necessary signing?
Well, it's just, I think it's always been on the cards, hasn't it? So I'd be very surprised if it didn't go through, to be honest. Or if he did go somewhere else. I mean, who could afford him? Probably Man City could afford him as well.
Imagine if Man City had Haaland and Mbappe. That'd be ridiculous.
That'd actually be a bit of a joke, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And do you think there's a possibility? Because I actually have a sneaky feeling, right? Obviously, Mbappe has been tearing it up for PSG for years now and did when he was really young at Monaco as well. He's always done well for France, but France have had the best international team for years now. Do you not think there's a bit of a possibility that should Mbappe go to Real Madrid, or I think this is even more the case if he was to go to a Premier League side, that he drops off a little bit? That maybe he doesn't do quite as well as he has done at PSG?
I don't know. I think he'll still tear it up wherever he goes, to be honest. I think it's more of a challenge. If he came to Liverpool, I think it'd be more of a challenge for him. If we if we went on to win the league or Champions League, I think it'd be a bigger feat, so to speak, than if he just went to Madrid and won La Liga and in the Champions League. So if he wants that, if he wants a bigger challenge, because he's been PSG for what, 5 years now, 4 years, and it's not really a challenge there, is it? He's just taking the money basically. But I'd like to think if he came to Liverpool, he'd come for the challenge. If you go to Madrid, you kind of, you're going to win La Liga, aren't you, or Champions League at least. So
yeah. What do you think, Ellis? Do you think he'd do as well as he has in France if he went to a different country?
Yeah, I think he would in La Liga, definitely. I mean, obviously La Liga is a lot better, but I still think I agree with Simon. It's more of a challenge to come to the Premier League. But the thing is, if you go anywhere that's not Real Madrid, there's always you could still go a step up. But that's why you might look at Real Madrid, and regardless of personal challenges or personal conquest, then that is the peak.
Yeah, it's like Real Madrid is end game.
Realistically,
yeah, because I think it's like Haaland in a couple of years will probably go to Madrid. He'll fancy that as well.
Yeah, I don't know though. Obviously Madrid have been unbelievable forever. Like they are the biggest team in the world, but I feel like the Premier League is slowly getting more and more of that pull. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
La Liga's not the best league in the world.
Yeah, La
anymore.
Liga isn't. It's not. Because Barcelona have dropped off a little bit. Atletico aren't as good as they were a couple of years ago as well. I mean, obviously you've got Girona doing really well at the minute, but I just think if I was a footballer right now and I wanted to challenge myself to the best of my abilities, I would go to the Premier League.
Yeah, Premier League,
undoubtedly.
Definitely, yeah.
And if I was Mbappe, and he will believe that he is one of the best players in the world, and from everything we've seen, he is. Surely he'll want to challenge himself to that level.
He just seemed like the player that would want to challenge himself because he's already rich, he's already won loads. If he's got that decision to make, he would just push yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Do it.
Yeah, do it.
I'd
please come to Liverpool. Please go on, do it. Please.
We'll give you Salah. We'll give you everything. Nah, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it if he joined. And I don't think he's as necessary at Madrid as he would be at Liverpool. I think, as I said, Madrid have got an already unbelievable and really young attack that is going to continue to do as well as they are at the minute for many years to come. And Liverpool's is more like with Salah and the phase he's at in his career, and Núñez not hitting the heights yet. And I think that Diaz is particularly overrated.
Yeah, I think it's the Diaz thing. I think because he's had his injury, and then obviously everything went on with his dad. He just doesn't seem the player he is when we first got him. So, say for instance, if we did sell him, get 40, 50 million or whatever, that would free up that space and money for it as well. But
so Mbappe, choose Liverpool over Madrid.
Yes,
I beg,
please.
That's all we want in life.
It's not fucking Man City.
Just not Newcastle. Did you remember that when the Newcastle takeover happened and there was all the rumours of him going to Newcastle?
Nah.
That would have been one of the worst moves in football history.
It was like, what was it, Robinho when Man City got took over, and he was just. I think he did well when he was playing at home, but away from home he just didn't do anything.
There was a clip of Mbappe on the French team playing, and I think Antoine Griezmann were playing Football Manager, doing a career with Newcastle. And it might have just been part of it, like when you see different signings and stuff like that. It's like, oh look, you've gone to Newcastle, and he said, where?
Where's that?
And it was like rainy.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd like it up there.
Yeah, to be honest, I see this a lot, and I think it's going to take many years before Newcastle are actually able to pull in like an out and out world class player like that. I know Tonali's close, and he probably could develop to be one of the better centre mids in the world, and he was always amazing at Milan and a young player. But I think if Newcastle want to get that like upper echelon of player, they're going to have to at least win a trophy first.
Well, then they need a big manager. They need a big name like a Zidane or an Ancelotti. They need that first before they get the big players.
That comes with pulling power.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have a whole debate on Newcastle, and I wanted to ask you boys. Newcastle are having a really tough time at the minute in the Premier League. I mean, across the board, to be honest. Where do you think Newcastle are at right now? Do you think the injuries are completely to blame for this drop-off?
You'd have to say it's definitely contributing, and I think
It's a massive factor.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do as well in Europe. I know they had the group of death and stuff. I did fancy them to go through. I thought the momentum and all that kind of stuff would take them through. So, and they finished bottom, didn't they? So they're not in Europa League or anything. So I think that's a massive disappointment. I mean, like I say, I still kind of fancy them maybe top 6 if they get these players back. But again, when you get taken over by these clubs, it's not just a quick fix, is it? You have to kind of, bide your time and stuff. And they did really well getting into the Champions League last season.
Well, they overachieved, really, didn't they?
And it was in part to what Liverpool, Chelsea doing crap as well, wasn't it? But
absolutely frees up a spot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, say if come back next season, will there be top 4 contenders? It depends who they sign, isn't it? But or who the manager is. Will Eddie Howe will he still be there?
Because I could see, if obviously we don't ultimately win the Euros and Southgate goes, if Eddie Howe gets removed from this setup at Newcastle, I could potentially see him being an England manager.
Yeah, I could see Eddie Howe being an England manager. I think that he'd probably be a really good shout, actually. But on Newcastle this season, right now, they sit 9th in the league and they're 11 points off top 4.
Yeah, that's poor.
Which is really bad. Obviously, they had the group of death in the Champions League, but got knocked out of that. And then they also got knocked out the Football League Cup by Chelsea. They're still in the FA Cup. Yeah. So that means that now, I know they've had an injury crisis, but they're practically out of every competition. There's still the potential for them to sneak into the top 4, but I have a feeling with the injuries that they have and how long some of them are going to be potentially out for, there's an excuse for them to not finish in the top 4 as well. So let's say come the end of the season, if Newcastle have dropped out the group stage, dropped out quite early in the Football League Cup, not got top 4, do you think that that's a really disappointing season, given it's meant to be them kicking on a little bit now?
I think at the start of the season, like most people would have thought maybe top 4 push definitely, but to not do that, I think it is a big disappointment for them because, like I say, with the money they do have behind them, and
Saka's in 1-on-1. Hold on, Gomez. Well
done, good defending.
Yeah.
I think it will be a huge disappointment for them. Right now, like you say, you can use the injuries as an excuse kind of thing, and they're playing 2 games a week in Europe, all that kind of stuff. But I just think, honestly, for them to progress, they just need a big name manager. I think that's the key.
Is that it?
Yeah, because I think you can sign, they've signed decent players, but to get to that next level, you need your superstar players. And with all due respect to Eddie Howe, he's not going to be signing like world beaters, is he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
With all due respect to Newcastle, I don't think they would go there to play under him. Like I say, if they had a Zidane or something like that, that would make a big difference.
An elite level manager.
But I also think, like, why would Zidane go to Newcastle until they've won something? Like, what? I know money, but if you're Zidane, every club in the world would look at having you as their manager. Why would you pick Newcastle?
Yeah.
Like, because and it's also the destination. Like, no offense to Newcastle as a city, I love it, and I think it's a great place for a night out, whatever.
As a foreigner,
but as like Zidane, would you move to Newcastle?
So Asprilla in the 90s, he went from Parma to Newcastle in like overnight or something like that. They signed him for like 10 million quid or something, like late 90s, and he was like a Colombian superstar in the Serie A, and he just signed. So it's possible. And like with Juninho, he went to Middlesbrough, didn't he? But I just think you need it. It's like Man City, they had, Mark Hughes or something like that when they got taken over, and then they eventually got Mancini, and that made the difference, I think, to attract the players. So I think that's what Newcastle need, just a big name manager first.
Yeah, well, I could see it happening. Yeah. But I also wanted to have a little chat on, obviously, Newcastle, I don't know whether it was down to Newcastle or down to Liverpool, really, but Liverpool absolutely decimated Newcastle the other day to the point where I think it was the most expected goals in any like Premier League game.
7, wasn't it, or something like that?
In history. Yeah. So it wasn't like a little bit of a beating. Realistically, it should have been by way more.
Yeah, and
the
scoreline flattered Newcastle.
Yeah. Newcastle picked up a lot of goals. But on the injury crisis, so right now at Newcastle, the injured players are Tonali. Wait.
Square it.
Liverpool are through here. Oh, no. Diaz has got the ball in the box. Oh. Every attack this game has been...
It's always breaking down.
Yeah, it's been rubbish. But anyway, at the minute at Newcastle, the players you've got who are currently injured is Tonali, Pope, Murphy, Target.
Tonali on a ban, not injured.
No, he's injured at the minute.
Is it? But he's still banned, isn't
he? He's banned, isn't he, for the betting
thing? Betting stuff?
I thought he was injured.
He's banned,
He's like banned for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Has that been confirmed?
Yeah.
He can't play anyway.
Yeah, well, he can't play.
Yeah. Tonali, Pope, Murphy, Target, Barnes, Wilson, Willock, Anderson, and Joe Linton. So that's a massive injury list, right? And it's some of the ones that last year when you saw Newcastle doing really well, for example, Joe Linton and Wilson were outperforming what you thought they would. But like Wilson's injury prone anyway, you would have kind of expected that one.
Nick Pope's probably the most annoying one for him.
Well, yeah, Nick Pope is a tough one. But then when I actually looked at the starting 11... against Liverpool, where they got absolutely battered, I thought, do you know what? That starting 11 genuinely isn't too bad. So they had Dubravka in net, who obviously isn't amazing.
Wow.
But then the defence, you have Livramento, Shah, Botman and Byrne, which is a solid defence. Yeah. And then in midfield, you've got Longstaff, Guimaraes. I don't know how you say his name properly. And I don't know who Miley is.
He's that young player. He looks about 16.
So that's probably another tough one. But then you've got a front three of Gordon, Isaac, and in fact Joe Linton must have come back because he played in that game. Gordon, Isaac, and Joe Linton. So realistically,
good
apart
team.
from
It's an expensive lineup. That
apart from Dubravka and Miley, that is a strong Premier League team, and they were getting ran round the park. I know it's Liverpool, but as I said earlier, they've been knocked out of practically every competition they're in, other than the FA Cup. So, does some of this blame now start to be pointed at Eddie Howe?
I just think because they got into Champions League and they were going, like, every group game was like a massive, huge game for them. So I think they were just going 100 miles an hour in all of those games, and it's just taken its toll, I think. And I think the players have just been knackered. Like Trippier, he completely fell off the cliff.
they've looked shad. Like Trippier, probably one of the best signings that they've made since the takeover, and he's just been a shadow of his former self over the past couple of games, giving away goals and just being a bit fucking stupid, really.
Yeah. Would you think Trippier will still get in the England squad? Should he come back fit?
I think he will, because he's one of Southgate's favourites.
Southgate fucking giving all these old England players glizzy every 2 minutes. But I don't know with Newcastle. As I said earlier in the episode, I don't think that they'll even manage to get into the top 4, and I don't know if I even see him getting in the top 6.
No. I mean, I just think one of the big parts of what happened last season was because Chelsea and Liverpool were so poor. So there was a space became available, and it was only natural that I suppose Newcastle took that space.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, with Liverpool being back now, and Newcastle kind of where they should be, but then they've spent all that money, is 9th place. I suppose look at Chelsea as well, but.
Yeah, I just don't. I honestly think, come the end of the season, should this form continue, people will start to question Eddie Howe again.
Yeah, I think if they finish like 8th or something like that, and then go out the cup early, and a good manager or a world class manager becomes available, I think Howe will go. I think he'll be sacked.
And I think there's a lot of loyalty among the Newcastle fans at the minute, for good reason. As you said, every Champions League game was like a momentous occasion in the city. They'd been waiting years for this. They had fucking drone shows for the Champions League games. You know what I mean? It is unbelievable, but right now they're just simply not doing good enough, considering the players they've got at their disposal, in my opinion, even with the injury crisis. And I think it comes back to, like you see this week, every team has this excuse like ready a lot of the time. I think Newcastle have got it. Manchester United all season they've been saying, well, we've had this injury and this injury and this injury.
Liverpool, we've got injuries as well. We've had
there's always bound to be injuries, but that's the whole point of having a good manager. Like when there is a couple of those key players missing, they can step it up, and the other players at their disposal. It should be more about the system, not the individual players.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
he's
great.
so good, isn't he? It's a shame that Timber got injured.
Liverpool in the box with Núñez.
He needs to bring Jota on.
I love Jota, mate.
Yeah, he's our best finisher, is Jota, and he always scores against Arsenal.
He's a cheat.
cheat. Yeah, that was ridiculous that the other day. By the way,
it was a penalty though.
No.
It was no. So when I first saw it, I thought, "What is he doing?" Like, but why?
Oh no, Simon.
He got touched though. He got knocked down, and then obviously, if you've ever played the game at any level, if you're running fast and you get touched, you chances are you will go off your balance.
I felt like he could have just put the ball in the back. Well,
but if he could have done that, then why would he go down? What, to get the keeper sent off? He wouldn't have done it for that reason.
I agree by the letter of the law that it was a penalty.
It was, yeah.
But the way in which he went down.
The way he went down, it looked.
In the first instance, but not when he went down.
Oh yeah, half an hour later when he went down. No, it did look strange and odd. And you think, what are you doing? But he's not that sort of player to dive or to try and get someone sent off. So and you look at the replay.
But you can't say he's not that sort of player after watching that.
But that I don't think that was a dive. I think it's just he went down.
Yeah, but he went down so late that it's that. When he went down, he's classed as a dive because he was no longer. The foul had been committed. He'd taken more steps.
He was fouled and then he went down. Simple as that.
Yeah, but there were two separate incidents. He was fouled and then.
Well, that's what happens when you get fouled. That's what happens.
He was fouled and he stayed on his feet.
No, but because of the contact, because it was more of a clip than a challenge or whatever. Oh, hang on.
Arsenal in the box. Havertz stinks it across.
Who was that?
Saka with a poor shot, but it was a bit of a strange.
That Saliba came flying up in the air then as well, and it just went too high for him in the end.
No, I don't. That Jota one. I know what you mean. It is a foul, but I don't think that. I don't know.
It looked strange. It looked odd. And when I first saw it, I thought, "What are you doing?" Like, I just thought, "Why are you trying to get the keeper sent off, or what are you doing?" But if that was like Harry Kane, everyone would be going, "Oh, that's clever play, all that kind of stuff." You know,
I don't know if they would. I think there'd be the same outrage for anyone doing
Alan
that.
Shearer was going nuts on social media. Then there was loads of incidents where, like, I think Harry Kane was going down, kind of similar, like going down late, or like Foden or something like that. And he was saying, "Oh, that's clever. That's clever."
It's just because it were
So it's
against
just
beloved
he was just
Newcastle.
kicking off. But
Yeah, wasn't there one earlier in that game as well that was very similar?
what, for Liverpool? Or,
Yeah, didn't Liverpool?
we did. Yeah, we
the
did.
penalty that Salah missed at the start.
Yeah, who was that? Was that Nunez? Or? No,
Yeah,
it was Diaz.
but it was a
Diaz, I
similar
think.
thing where a player got fouled and then took
Yeah.
a step and then went down.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously it is. But I don't know, like, should you have the opportunity to kind of make up your mind for a second whether you want to go down and then still win the
You have
penalty
to
anyway?
remember these players are going. I mean, it doesn't look like lightning speed, but they're going at fast pace, and any knock, it'll knock you off your balance.
Yeah, but he'd continue to be on his balance and carry on running for a bit. That's my issue.
What, maybe a step? I mean, you're talking like he went 10 meters or something like that. But I admit it looks odd, it looks strange. But at the end of the day, he was clipped, and he had every right to go down.
Yeah, my argument is it.
They don't like that.
Jota's on.
Every right.
Well, he did. If the keeper comes out, no, but that's the point. If the keeper comes out, then the keeper's put himself in jeopardy where he's going to make contact with the forward. And if you make contact with the forward has every right to go down.
To be honest, I do agree that it's a penalty at the end of the day, but I just think that it looked super suspect, and I don't particularly like it, but it is. But that doesn't mean I have to. What do you think, Ellis? Ellis, you've been weirdly quiet.
I don't know, because I kind of feel like I'm with what I think, I'm just sat on the fence, really, because I can see both sides of it, where it does look ridiculous, but and it looks like he could have just put the ball in the net. But like Simon said, though, like, wouldn't he rather have the goal to his name?
But we just have a goal.
No, it definitely was a penalty.
There was contact. There was contact. There was contact.
It was weak, but it is a pen.
I mean, contact doesn't always mean a penalty, but in the instance of a goalkeeper on an attacker, when it's just one-on-one with each other, then I think contact always means a penalty, realistically.
Yeah, and you just knew it was as soon as it happened, but it's fucking tough, isn't it?
I mean, if that was the other way around, if that was like Isak going down or Gordon, I'd have been fuming as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like...
It's just how it works, isn't it?
It's just Arsenal. What the hell? The attacks this game,
poor, isn't it?
the quality of the finishing of chances has been unbelievably bad. But I wanted to talk about a few other potential transfers that might be going down. We've got apparently Manchester United, with the arrival of Werner at Tottenham, are now looking into potentially signing Muller or Choupo-Moting, which again are two Bundesliga players. Muller's been at Bayern Munich for what feels like forever. And I mean,
he's still only like 32, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah, he's not that old. He's not
no, I thought he must be like 35.
I thought he was, but I'm sure he's like still early 30s.
Yeah. But anyway, what would you think? For me, Manchester United signing Muller or Choupo-Moting would just be another like Wout Weghorst, or what was that other geezer they signed a couple of seasons ago? It started the striker. It started with like an I.
Igalo,
yeah.
This is what I mean,
To
though.
smash it in.
I just simply got to smash it. There's so many strikers that Manchester United seem to sign for no apparent reason, and I think this would be another one of those.
What's the strategy? Like,
I know it's
There isn't.
bizarre, isn't it?
That's the problem. This is why they're looking at players like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Panic buying.
I mean, I know Muller's okay, but Muller's played more. Arsenal with another attack. They're calling for a handball from the referee.
That wasn't
though.
an Odegaard then, was it? From last week.
Odegaard is absolutely losing his mind here, though.
Yeah, he has looked good, actually, before game as well.
Is this a handball? Done well. He was going mental because it was a corner.
It looked like
it was
one.
given as a goal kick. All right, that makes sense.
There he is. He's someone else who needs to fucking pull his finger out his arse at the moment.
Ellis, there was a Leeds United transfer this week, right at the start of the window, which surprised me. I wanted to chat about it a little bit. And that is Jed Spence's loan was cut short and he was sent back to Tottenham. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really weird because I was one of the people that were really getting behind him, and I kind of liked the look of him when he was on the ball, really attacking kind of fullback. There was speculation that it was something to do with attitude, but that seems to be like a narrative. Like, he might not have just been part of Fark's plans, but when you've got to look at it, like, we're short in that department. We're playing a 17-year-old at right back who's actually a central midfielder by trade. I mean, he played fullback in youth setup, but he's more of a central midfielder. But it could just go back to Jed Spence looking at it like, how come this 17-year-old centre mid's getting played in my position and I'm getting played out of position? Could have caused some friction. But I think an interesting thing to look at is he's been sent back to Tottenham and they've put him straight back up again on the loan lists.
Yeah.
So they're not.
Well,
interested
apparently they've put him up for sale.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, they've not even put him up for another loan.
He's just straight for sale.
And the way I'm looking at this is, to be honest, I think whenever I've seen Jed Spence play, admittedly, he's been played out of position, but he came to Leeds with big expectations. At Nottingham Forest, he was one of the best fullbacks in the Championship when they got promoted. And everyone at Leeds thought he'd do really well. Out of position, but it's looked like he's been lazy to me. Honestly, it's looked like he's been disinterested whenever he's been playing. And if that same attitude is replicated, is mirrored in training, I can see why Farke would probably have an issue. And I've heard a lot of these things about attitude problems, and to be honest, I could imagine it being the case. He's come from a Premier League team with massive expectations and he's just not looked interested nor particularly good.
Everything that Warnock said about him has been circulating on socials. Because
what did Warnock say?
He said that he's got the ability of a Premier League player. This is when he was at Middlesbrough, I think. He's got the ability to be a Premier League footballer, but he just doesn't have the commitment to reach his full potential. Like in other words, saying that his attitude isn't right for the professional game. Yeah. And then like the first thing he did when they got promoted, through the playoffs, posted a picture of a cigar in his mouth and the fucking playoff trophy and tagged Neil Warnock in it, and it's just like, oh, look at me. Then he went back to Spurs
and did nothing,
and hasn't done anything since. And he's been sent back by Leeds, which I think it speaks volumes that we're struggling in fullback positions, and we've sent him back.
Yeah, it doesn't look good on him, does it?
It really doesn't, because we're struggling in that position. But if Farke has sent him back, then you can't deny that there's obviously got to be something wrong on this part.
Oh, 100%. And Farke's been one so far at Leeds who has been very much about morals in terms of, obviously, you saw Sinestero on the last day of the season. Last day of the transfer window in the summer. We probably could have forced him to stay at Leeds. And Farke was like, well, if he doesn't want to be here, and there was talks of legal action, just let him go.
That was a big thing with him. He said, this is Leeds. You've got to want to play. And if you don't want to play, then we don't want you. Simple as. And it was a shame what happened with Nonto, because we do know now, or we even knew at the time, that he was getting whispered in his ear from a pretty toxic kind of agent that just wanted loads of money for himself, realistically, or like a big money move. But we've seen really that Nonto, he's a good player, but he was massively overhyped.
Oh yeah, to be honest, I think Nonto has been our biggest disappointment this season. I know he's not started many games, but
when he's come on, he's not done anything really.
Well, even today in the cup against Peterborough, he did nothing.
I mean, he put in one good cross that Bamford probably should have headed in.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, he should have had that penalty as well. Yeah. But at the same time, he could have carried on and shot there.
But you'd have expected him to be reaching levels that Somerville's been reaching this year.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of like football journalists, etc., still putting Nonto in that conversation for a Premier League move. And I think any Premier League club that's watched him play this year wouldn't even consider signing him. there has been no reason to sign him. I think that goal he scored last year in the cup, the volley, that like propelled him, and everyone was like, this 19-year-old kid who scored an absolute banger. But this year he's been really bad.
Year in the Premier League though, like I don't know if it was how we were playing, but he looked a lot more dangerous. I think he was but then again, it's sometimes easy to see shining light in a dark room. Like now we've got a team that's performing in the Championship, and we've got a number of players that are playing quite well. Whereas last year we only had really Rodrigo, who was scoring goals, and then obviously him, who was a bright light. So then you kind of look to him a bit more.
Oh, I miss Rodrigo. I loved Rodrigo.
I know, what a player.
What a man. But I think that this is one of the most anger-inducing footballers in Leeds United, and even just general football history, and that is Patrick Bamford, who has recently come back from injury. He scored in the game against Birmingham in the league, and then he scored one of the best goals I've ever seen today. This is what I mean with Patrick Bamford. He'll miss 3 1-on-1s, and then he'll score off his chest, twisting volley into the top corner. What is going on with that man?
I really don't know.
Is he fully fit? Is he?
Now he is, yeah.
Yeah, so he's having a run of games, is he?
Well, I mean, he's been fully fit for a little while now, but he actually
he's not been getting in. But he's more getting in through rotation at the moment, because you're getting to that stage of the season where Championship's a long season, when we've got cup games going, stuff like that.
Well, I don't think he's getting in because of rotation. I think he's getting in because Pirot was doing pretty poor.
Well, yeah. To be fair,
I like Pirot's a smart signing, but
I liked what is it? Rutter in 10 and then
Arsenal in the box. Oh.
It's come alive, hasn't it?
There's a lot going on, but no team's doing well. Sorry, Alice, what were you saying?
I liked Rutter at 10 and Bamford up front.
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. I'd quite like to see Rutter at 10 and Pirou up front as well, though. But yeah, Bamford could be back, Simon.
A good player. The season you came up,
got 17 goals.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, but
player.
I think the only reason he did well is because he was creating about 20 chances a game under Marcelo Bielsa. That is, for me, the genuine reason. I think pretty much any striker would have done well when they're getting 5 chances on a play every game.
Yeah.
But there was some games where he looked incredible.
That was poor, that. I mean, yeah, you've got the hat-trick against Aston Villa. I remember that was literally the day before my birthday. What an early birthday present that was, a Patrick Bamford hat-trick. I remember him scoring that goal against Leicester.
Yeah.
Which was like an absolute left-footed rocket at far corner. He's got it there, innit? But it's just consistency.
How old is he now? Is he still...
He's like 27, 28.
He's still got some time, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a couple of years left. I just never see him being consistent. I hope he is. He could make a huge difference for us in the second half of the season. If he keeps up good form, he can score goals in the Championship.
He can and he has. Do you know what I mean? I think it's good to have these options, really. I mean, we know we've got a love-hate relationship with him, but if he starts doing his job, then to be honest, he's had a lot of struggles, and disregard social media because that's always a cesspit of toxicity.
Go on.
Oh,
go on.
Nunes is through for Liverpool.
Square it.
Puts the ball across.
no.
An awful pass to Diaz.
Whip it in.
This has been the most end-to-end game to not see a goal I think I've ever watched.
Oh, that was a bit of a dive.
So is there a sniper in the stands? Oh dear. Wow.
I think just both managers are saying, look, we don't want a draw. Just
Someone scored.
don't want a replay.
I feel like this could be a really interesting end to the game. Harvey Elliott's hair, man. I can't. It looks like
pot noodles,
looks like super noodles. Genuinely, it looks like someone's got out 3 bags and stuck one to each side and one to the back of his head. It's wild.
A V at the back of his head as well.
He's been really good this year, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, great player. He's just he's one of those squad players that can come on and do really well, and he's one of the fans' favourites there. He's brilliant.
Yeah, did he come through the academy as well?
No, we got him from Fulham. I think he's a London boy. I think. I think we got him from Fulham. I think when he was really young, like 17. Or was it Charlton or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
But he's like a lifelong Liverpool fan apparently. But yeah, no, he's done really well. And obviously had that horrible injury.
Was that with Strike?
Yeah. So he was out for like 8 months or something like that. But no, he's a good player.
Yeah, I saw a stat a couple of games ago where it was like when he hasn't played or featured in a game, Liverpool I think they'd only won like 2 out of 20, whereas when he has featured the other 18, they'd won like 16 of them. Obviously, there was a couple of draws in there, but yeah, he looks like an important player.
Klopp really likes him. The only thing he does lack is pace. He doesn't really have much pace. So he can't. I don't think he can play Salah's role very well. But he's still only young. I think he's like 20. So
yeah, he can develop still for sure. This has been a strange game for me.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
just
like
odd.
Every time I look up, there's a chance going on for one team, but neither team are able to put the ball in the back of the net at the minute. And I think that with Liverpool without Salah, this could be. I think that they could start to have a run like Arsenal, where they actually play quite well, but there's no one to actually score. Because realistically, how many goals do you think Nunes is going to get? And Diaz isn't the most clinical finisher of opportunities.
Well, like I say, our best finisher is Jota. So he needs. I mean, he's just come on 10 minutes ago. So I think he needs to start now in these games because he's just a clinical finisher. Like he's not as intelligent as like Gakpo or dynamic as like Diaz or Nunez, but he just knows where the goal is.
I often wonder why a player like Jota would accept not starting in the Premier League.
I mean, he's just come back from an injury,
but he wasn't starting prior to that, was he?
Yeah, well, he doesn't. It's weird. He doesn't.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's more of a Klopp prefers him more of an impact because he is pacey. He's quick, but he's our best finisher. Probably even better than Salah, to be honest.
Wow, it's a big shout.
Yeah.
Arsenal on the attack here. Saka's got the ball on the edge of the box. Gets a shot off.
It's poor, isn't it?
Really poor finish. Again, as I said, this game has been odd. It's been a strange one.
He's struggling at the moment, isn't he?
Just to say, Salah scored for Egypt against Tanzania.
Wow.
Really?
And I think it's a warm-up though, isn't it?
Doesn't it means nothing then?
Yeah.
Arsenal, Liverpool. Yeah. What was it for, Chris? What was the kit for? So it's like Why have they done a kit to highlight knife crime, but then they're not actually going to sell it though? Because surely it would be better to sell it and have the money go to a knife crime charity or something along those lines instead of just having the kit.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, this is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? At least raise some money for someone in the process, because like maybe an extra sponsorship deal or something because of it. But yeah, I don't really get that one, me personally. Trent's had a really good last couple of games, but I've seen him miss a couple. Like, I know his job isn't to score goals, but I've seen him miss a couple of opportunities. What are you thinking of him this season? Do you think that
he's been brilliant? He has overall. He's been probably our best player in the last couple of months. I mean, that shot he did against Newcastle last week, that was like that Roberto Carlos thing he did was incredible. Again, he's not a very good defender, but he's still an exceptional player.
Handball.
He's still an exceptional player, and you've got him in your team, you've got a chance. So,
definitely.
Do you think he should get in the England squad, Ellis?
It's really tough. I mean, I'd have him in the squad.
Oh, he's big. Yeah, definitely in the squad.
100%.
I feel like you'd say, you should have everyone in the squad, though.
Nah, not everyone. Most.
Southgate just doesn't know how to use him. He's not intelligent enough to use him properly.
Well, he's not like a proper manager, is he? Southgate.
He'll just go play it safe and go for
Southgate's more a coach, isn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what the thing. He picked up the team in a dark place, and he got them believing in each other, but then made like a bit of like a brotherhood, band of brothers kind of thing. When you're always going to play better when you get along with everyone that you play with. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the most important thing that he did. But it's just, you've seen us now. We're at like the top level of international teams in terms of squads, but I think you need an elite level manager to take us to the next level.
Definitely.
It's like Newcastle with Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
I think that you need that elite manager to just get you over the line in the big games.
Well, I mean, England right now feels like golden generation 2.0, but just without a manager to actually capitalise on it at all. So I feel like it's going to be a disappointing Euros, and then it'll be the end of his reign in charge.
Yeah, well, either way, there's positives to take. Like if we don't win this, we're going to hopefully get a world class manager in.
Who's out there though? Who would come though?
I don't know.
That's the thing. Zidane.
Keep
saying Zidane.
You love Zidane.
Oh, he's brilliant.
See, I've heard speculation. I don't know if he'll even leave at the end of the season, but that Pep's next port of call might be an international team. He's worked with a few of the English lads before.
Yeah,
and that would be ridiculous.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would really love that.
That'd be good.
Just a shout out as well. Some big results for the other larger Premier League teams in the cup. So Chelsea beat Preston 4-0.
Yeah.
Villa snuck a 1-0 win against Middlesbrough.
That was dreadful, that yesterday.
Forest drew with Blackpool. See, this goes back to my...
They were 2-0 down as well, I think.
Yeah, this goes back to my Forest might get relegated when they're drawing with Blackpool.
They had a decent team out as well.
And then Manchester City beat Huddersfield 5-0.
Yeah.
Which
Man
you would
City
expect.
always seem to get drawn against like Huddersfields or Rotherham's or something like that in the cup all the time.
I know, you look at Arsenal, Liverpool...
I think in the last 8 years we've drawn against a Premier League team in the third round out of 7 or something like that.
Oh, don't worry, mate. I wouldn't even complain. You should try being Leeds and getting drawn against the League 2 side and losing every time.
Wow.
What is it? Something ridiculous like 13 away draws on the bounce?
The odds of it are like 7 million to 1 or something.
Wow.
I think it's like Manchester United who have had like fucking 8 or 9 home ties in a row in the cup. It's just weird, isn't it?
We're just away every single fixture.
I know, so it'd be interesting to see what the draw is like on Monday, because Man United have got Wigan tomorrow night. I think the draw may be before the game. I think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's weird now. Been back in the Championship, I obviously want Leeds to get a Premier League team again.
Yeah.
We had a really good performance today.
Professional performance today.
Why did he... Oh, no, Liverpool in the box with Diaz.
Good save.
A fantastic save there from Aaron Ramsdale.
Thought he'd messed it up there, but he still got his shot off.
Yeah. I saw Aaron Ramsdale on a podcast last week, and it was so obvious that he had some of those snus pouches in his mouth.
Oh, right.
It was like he wasn't. It was like he was pretending to try hide it, but it was the most obvious thing I've ever seen. No, I don't give a fuck at all. Like, do your thing. No, but I see him on the bench with them, and brings me to a story. I didn't know what these snus things were. Do you know what they are?
No, what is
so
that?
it's like a little flavoured pouch. Like, it looks a bit like a tea bag, but it's full of nicotine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you just put it on your gum and it gives
like
you...
here?
Yeah, and you just get loads of nicotine. So I didn't know what they were.
They look like a rugby player then or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's at the bar.
Oh, missed it.
Oh, Nunes. Missing another
Try
chance.
get one on target, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's been 3. That's the 3rd time we've seen the crossbar hit this game now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty strange. Anyway, snus pouches, right? So you see all the footballers having them because it's not like smoking. It's not as bad for you. I mean, I imagine it's pretty bad for your gums, but it doesn't have a negative impact on your lungs.
Yeah.
And anyway, I had no idea what they were. I went out in Manchester a couple of weeks ago, right?
Here we go.
And I was at this like fancy bar, and they were handing them out. They were like a company was doing a trial handing these snus things out, and I was like, cool. So I just got a couple like bags, like pouches of them. I didn't think much of it. I just got a couple bags, and then a couple of days later, I was in work, and I went in my bag to grab some, and I was like, oh, I got these free snus things. So I put one in, bruv. I was sat in the office at work, and I started like tingling all over my body because I just put one of the strong ones on because I go for a vape a couple of times a day anyway. So I'm used to having nicotine, and I thought that'll be calm. Put it in. I was sat there, started tingling. Like 5 minutes later, I felt like I was floating a little bit. Do you know when you're like shit?
Yeah.
So I took it out and I had to go sit in the toilet for like 15 minutes, and I was sat thinking, I was like, yo, what have I done? Am I going to be all right again? I don't like them though. I'm not sure on that product.
They're a bit ruthless, to be fair. I remember trying one of them for the first time. I had a similar experience. Like the room started spinning, and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
What, is it a nicotine thing? Is that what it is?
It's because you get like nicotine rush.
Should footballers be doing that?
Yeah,
Like
I've seen
them hooked
footballers sat on the bench doing it.
cigarettes or vapes or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Well, no,
bizarre.
because I think as a footballer, you probably still want to have like a vice. Like everyone has a vice, really, don't they? So that's one you can have without being frowned upon, and you wouldn't like
Does it not make you talk funny, like
maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
but it doesn't.
It's not that big, really. And
Yeah.
when you go,
Oh,
like
okay.
some people.
I'm just thinking of like a rugby player, big like something like
No,
that.
no, it's not that
That's what I'm
much.
thinking. That's what I can see.
Oh,
Who's that?
and it's a goal for
Diaz.
Liverpool.
He loves a header at the moment, really, doesn't he?
He's got a good spring on him.
Liverpool 1-0 up against Arsenal at the Emirates.
Who's that?
Who is that?
Great security there at Emirates.
Yeah.
Must admit, it went off in the Liverpool end there when you looked up for a second. 1-0, Simon.
yeah.
That was the most. I had a better reaction to that Liverpool.
I
You
dunno,
don't really
I
care,
just-
do you? About
no,
this?
I don't. There's something about the FA Cup that I just don't. I don't know. I just think when Man United pulled out of the FA Cup in '99 and went to over the other side of the world, and the FA agreed to that, I think it's just gone downhill. I just think the prestige.
What was
of it-
that? I don't know. What
Well, when they
happened
won the
there?
Champions League, and then they went off to, I think it was like Tokyo or Brazil or something like that, and it was the start of the year, like
an own
FA
goal,
Cup
that.
third round. Was that an own goal? Oh, it was. Oh, was that?
I don't even know who
finish.
that man is.
Some head of that.
Yeah, that's actually a really bad own goal from Arsenal there. But, you know, I think that's what this game needed with the attacks
Oh, it
that were
needed a
happening.
goal, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying about Manchester
Yeah, I
United?
think
Because I've
in
never heard.
'99 they won the Champions League, and then they got invited to go and play in the World Club Cup thing. Somewhere I think it was in Brazil, but it clashed with the third round of the FA Cup. And obviously, if they went there, they'd make millions. And I think the Premier League wanted them to go as well because representing the Premier League. So there's loads of hoopla about, oh, shouldn't they go? And they went, obviously, and then they pulled out of the FA Cup. So they essentially didn't play in the FA Cup that season
They
because
just
of that.
forfeited.
And I think from that moment on, it's just been a bit. I know it was a long time ago, and then obviously with the whole new Wembley and stuff, and the semi-finals and all that kind of stuff being played at the Wembley as well. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if I think just Liverpool fans in general we prefer the League Cup because it's more of a European kind of style competition with like night games and stuff and like a two-legged semi-final. I just think it's just a bit more exciting.
Fair enough.
But maybe I'm
No, that's
in the
fine.
minority, I don't know.
I'd never heard of that before, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I am very
Yeah.
surprised that the FA allowed one of
Yeah.
England's biggest teams to just forfeit the cup
Yeah.
for a season. I think that's pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
Just like Diaz's shot there.
Yeah.
Pretty atrocious.
Seen a few of them today from everyone.
Yeah. Attacks on the worst possible form.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when we win the cup, it was when Gerrard, the Gerrard final in 06, that was just amazing. And I remember that my probably worst experience as a football fan was when United beat us in '96 in the cup final when Cantona scored. I was like completely gutted. Still haunts me to today, but it's just to this day. I don't know what it is. The FA Cup, I think, is it because it's too English, too southern, too Wembley, like London orientated. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if Liverpool
makes
fans
sense.
agree. I don't know.
No, do you know what? I never thought of it like that, but I do completely agree. I think And I see a lot of this, people complaining about Manchester City fans because they didn't sell out their allocation last year at Wembley for the FA Cup. But I do also agree with the fact, if you're Manchester City at this point, you can probably guarantee 2 Wembley visits a year.
Yeah.
And like, you're going to have to pick one. So would you really pick the FA Cup final? Because like, let's say they're likely to get to the League Cup final a lot of the time. I know they're not going to this season because they're not in it anymore. But you would expect them to get to the League Cup, to get to the FA Cup semi and final. So you'd pick the finals, wouldn't you? You wouldn't, like, if you're a football fan, an everyday football fan, you probably don't have the funding to be going to Wembley 3 times a season or even 2 times a season. So I think that it's a bit of a, like, it's an easy clippable clickbait title or clip to have a dig at City for not selling out their Wembley allocation. But it also doesn't surprise me that they don't, and I don't particularly blame fans for not going to a semi-final when...
Was it expensive as well, going all the way down, down from Manchester to... Look, that's what I mean. They should just do the semi-finals like they used to do in like Villa Park or Old Trafford, Northern Midlands kind of grounds. It's just easy for the fans, but it's all about money, isn't it? It's all
about
about
the fans'
money now.
best interests.
Exactly.
No, I agree. Arsenal whipping in a free kick here. Oh. Got to admit, it has been Havertz that's been seeming to get on the end of the chances this whole game, but I don't know if that's really the man you want on the end of the chances. That's the problem.
Not really.
Oh,
Hello.
I have a soft spot for Havertz, though. I'd rather have Havertz over Werner.
I probably would as well.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Oh.
The silence.
None of the above.
This is like, I'd rather have Patrick Bamford over both of them. Oh,
Prime Bamford, yeah. There you go.
oh, Liverpool tried taking a quick free kick there, but Arsenal thwart it.
Still alive.
This has been, a strange game of football to watch, fellas. Do you think that we could see Arsenal pull it back here? Too much to ask? Do Arsenal even want to pull it back is the real question.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, it does just lead to more injuries, etc., doesn't it? But so I mean, it's so tough as a football fan to decide where I stand on the cup, because I get why bigger teams aren't as interested in it, but then as a smaller team, it can mean a lot. Like, maybe not so much for Leeds now because I've seen us in the Premier League recently, but I know as a kid growing up, when I got to go to the Emirates at 8 years old and see Leeds play Arsenal, or I might have been 9, whatever, it was one of the best games I'd ever been to. We drew with Arsenal at the Emirates, and it meant we got a replay at Ellen Road, and I, as a kid, got to see Arsenal.
That's what it's like all about, isn't it, for a young fan, isn't it? That stuff like that. Like,
yeah, and it's a bit sad to see these bigger teams not care about it as much because of a couple of injuries.
I just think the Champions League is so way ahead of it in everything, like the prize money, the prestige, and all that kind of stuff. I just think
obviously going to be prioritised, isn't it?
Yeah, I get it. I just don't like it.
It's the way of the world.
That's just the way it is.
Because what do you get for winning the FA Cup? Is it like 5 million or something like that? Is it still that? I thought you got like a briefcase of money or something.
Imagine that lifting up briefcase.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Big check.
No, I'm not sure how much it is, but
it's not much.
I would assume it's not much. But again, it shouldn't really be about that. It should
be honours.
It shouldn't. Yeah. But.
Oh damn!
Oh, it's NFL game week 18 today.
Who's playing?
Everyone, I think.
Everyone.
What, all at once, all on the same pitch.
Is the NFL not getting into the knockout stages yet?
This is game week 18, so it's the last game, and then obviously it goes off into playoffs and wild cards and stuff like that. So
no, maybe we'll have to do a Super Bowl stream, and we'll literally know nothing about NFL.
Nothing about.
So we'll just sit and watch it and go, "Oh, that was a good throw."
It's like, damn, that guy's big.
Why is it stopped? Isn't NFL just like rugby with protection?
No,
am I going to get
it's not at all. It's. I actually prefer the NFL to rugby.
I do. I've really come to like it, especially after going to watch it live in America. But I mean, I've definitely got more of an interest in it now. It's really quite good. To be
I prefer basketball. I prefer the NBA than NFL.
Do you know, this is a controversial take, but I think that rugby is a dying sport. I think especially rugby league.
Well, yeah, leagues. It's a shame, really, because I think I prefer league.
I prefer league to union.
I prefer union. It's weird because I'm a northerner, but I prefer rugby union to rugby league.
I mean, it's bigger union. I mean, I don't know. Not that long ago, I think it might have been last year, the League World Cup was on. and it was just a little bit sad to see how empty these grounds were in like a World Cup. Do you know what I mean? But then when it comes to like these Six Nations and stuff like that with the rugby, I always get behind that because it's quite entertaining. Like,
I love the Lions, British and Irish Lions. I love that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not against rugby. I actually used to really enjoy it when I was younger. I just think that it's a sport where attendances have been dropping for a lot of the league teams.
For league, definitely. Union's doing fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Union's fine. But I don't think that there should be two different versions of practically the same sport.
Well, it's just different codes, isn't it?
I know, but what's the point? That's like having a slightly different version of football where every time you get a goal kick, I don't know, you can only play it across the floor or something. And then
they say rugby league's more exciting, isn't it? I mean, because I don't really know all the rules, so I don't know, but they say rugby
it's
league
a bit more
is
fluid, I think.
Yeah, a bit more atmosphere and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Because Union's a bit more stop and starty. But I don't know. That's probably a bit of a faster pacing league. But I don't know because I only played league. To be fair, I didn't play Union, and my only knowledge of Union is watching
Yeah.
But yeah, I think give it 20 years, rugby league will be in the bin.
Is it all full time professional now and everything? It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Like the players that play are full-time professionals.
At the top level, yeah.
But I don't think a lot of them earn much money. It's like the wages aren't massive.
No.
I think maybe the best players will be on like 25k a week, which I know is massive, but in comparison to
It's what we get here for doing this, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
huh?
It's what we get for doing this, isn't it?
Yeah, we get 2 Copperbergs and a Corona if you're lucky.
And a spilt water on my leg.
Yeah.
Did it get your leg?
No, I think I'm
Oh, yeah. There was a phase in this episode where like
It felt very chaotic.
there were water flying everywhere, noises going on. I dropped something in the kitchen when I went to get the tea towels. Everything was popping off.
Just
But
got stretched and knocked the camera first.
So
and
then
I
moved that way.
Then you thought, I'll
go
just do
way.
this as well. Yeah. Even it out.
just threw everything. Yeah. It was a bit hectic for a minute. But lads, we're into practically the last minute of this game. I wouldn't imagine there'll be too much time added on. Simon, are you happy with the performance?
I thought with the team we put out, I thought the performance would be a bit better because we put out a strong lineup. But I think Arsenal, they had something to prove, so I think they came at us, which was understandable. But obviously they've got a free kick now, but let's see how this goes. Oh my God. Bloody Nunez nearly scored. Wrong goal, bloody hell.
That were closer to target the most of Nunez's shots, just in the wrong direction. But no, I completely agree. I feel like Arsenal came out today needing a decent performance.
Yeah, they were under more pressure, I think.
Overall, I think they've had the better game, but just haven't done anything with the opportunities
got a
at hand.
striker, have they?
Yeah, Arsenal can. Yeah, I agree. Arsenal. Oh.
Well, there's still 4 minutes added on.
Yeah, 4 minutes added on here.
Oh, go on.
Liverpool. Diaz has the ball. Just has to square it. Gets past. Nah, there's no chance that's a penalty.
Oh.
Again, another good counter-attack from Liverpool, though, in which it just needed that final pass.
He looked fast then, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of him, you know.
It's not the same as he's been since his injury, but when he came in, when we signed him in that January, he was like a bit like Luis Suarez, just really quick feet and just like a fighter, like a scrapper kind of thing.
Well, the thing is, I think he's great. He's great on the ball. I just think his end product is
not the
very
best.
rarely
He needs
there.
to score more goals. He does.
Yeah, even not just goals though, just assists as well. His passing never seems that fantastic when I watch him. He can beat a player and he is quick, but apart from that,
I know what you mean.
Can Arsenal do something? To be honest, if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't want us to do anything. I'd quite happily take a decent performance and getting knocked out.
I mean, you're not going to be mad at a goal, but in hindsight, you're going to think it's just another game.
Yeah, like you always want to do as well as possible, but that's Smith Rowe.
That's a good knock.
Smith Rowe's another one of those players. In my opinion, Emil Smith Rowe just needs to move to a worse team than Arsenal in order to do anything for the rest of his career.
Crystal Palace or something like that.
Yeah.
He's had a bad injury, hasn't he?
Well, I mean, he's constantly injured, but even when he's not, he's never going to be a starting player for Arsenal, is he? Smith Rowe, right now, with the amount of football he's played, is not good enough to be starting in a team challenging for the top 4, in my opinion. Like, he's not a bad footballer. I think he'd do well somewhere else, but I think he needs that experience and regular starting football somewhere else before you can consider him for one of these top teams, really.
Easy.
Yeah. came back on loan from Huddersfield, and then in that COVID season, things were a little bit different. You could kind of accept a few lesser performances, or these players, there wasn't as much pressure on them when there's this empty stadium.
Yeah, different, innit?
I just think, I don't know, I think he's all right, but not quite to Arsenal level at the minute.
Get the ball in corner.
Hey. Liverpool with the ball in the Arsenal box. Oh, just needs to be someone attacking it there, doesn't it? Lads, I don't know what the next game we're going to do is.
Sure,
I'm
there's a
not
big
even
one
sure.
on that week. Not next weekend. The weekend after.
Yeah, I mean,
is there a break? Premier League break, or is?
I'm not sure. I felt like there was a bit of a Premier League break now because it's 2 cup runs in a
We've
row,
got
isn't it?
City Newcastle on Saturday the 13th. Man United Spurs on Sunday the 14th.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I'd probably go Man United Spurs there. It
On
fills
the
me with a bit more
on the
joy.
Sunday.
4:30 on the Sunday.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be the next game on Derby days then. Manchester United against
That's
Tottenham.
next week, a week today, that, innit?
Is it?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think half the teams, or like there's like 5 fixtures this weekend and 5 fixtures the weekend after, so 10 teams get a break.
Do you know what? I'm really keen at some point, I think, as we get to maybe the quarter semis and the final, to do a couple Champions League games as well. I think once the big teams are starting to get through to those later stages, that'd make for a really interesting stream, because obviously we talk about what's happening internationally, but I don't watch the international game as much as I probably should. It's only like the bigger games. Oh, Diaz in the box. Oh, pings it in the top corner.
Oh, that's a finish.
He's made me eat my words right there.
Rubbish player.
What was this about end product?
Yeah, well. Anyway, 2-0 to Liverpool. That seals it off pretty much, doesn't it? A fantastic finish from Diaz.
Yeah, I think it's been like a professional away performance, if that exists.
Yeah, no, I'd
I think
agree with
Arsenal will
that.
probably play better. But again, we've got players that can finish, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Arsenal just currently don't seem to have those players, do they?
Yeah, it's Arsenal's attack. It's really letting them down this season. I mean, obviously they're losing 2-0, so you can say the defence has been an issue this game. But again, for the first 45 minutes of the game, they were the much better team, and they were on the attack constantly. Seen Havertz have a couple of half chances. No. It's just not. It's not clicking for Arsenal up front at the minute, and I think they've got the talent to do well, but it's just really not. It's really not going well.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've not had Van Dijk playing as well, he's got a rest as well.
Yeah.
And it looks like we've got no injuries as well, so that's a bonus heading into Wednesday.
That's top bins, that.
Yeah, I mean, near post, isn't it? But there's nothing Ramsdale could have done about that one.
Great finish.
Yeah.
The goalkeeping situation at Arsenal as well. I hope that Ramsdale somehow manages to get back in, because I had him as my England pick up to this season. And now, obviously, he's not even starting, so it's going to be fucking Dino Arms Pickford that's starting every game in the Euros.
Most overrated
I do.
goalkeeper in history.
Yeah, I know what you're going to
We
say.
need to have a debate on goalkeepers, because Pickford just shouldn't.
Yeah, we'll do that at some point,
Yeah,
actually. The next top 10 list might be goalkeepers. Go on.
Yeah.
Fucking Pickford, man. He's my number one.
I think Nick Pope's better. I'd rather have him as number one.
Oh. Right, we'll do this on a different day anyway, because it's the end of the game.
England number one.
Lads, I'm starving. Come back next time and we'll do the top 10 Premier League goalkeepers or something along those lines. But thanks for watching. Peace.